which is going to be soon, I'm confident, because he's made of firm stuff, and so we'll have him back soon. But till further notice, Gary and Shannon filling in for Bill, and it was it's a delight to hear them in the morning. So I mean, it shattered every stereotype that I may have been harboring about Shannon Farren. She was bright and alert as a bunny at 6 a.m. So that was terrific. So catch them, Gary and Shannon. We'll be back tomorrow. The Gary and Shannon show rolls on. However, we have quite a Swamp Watch today because of Sam Nunberg. And if you recall, yesterday around noon, I started seeing this right before we did Swamp Watch, and the story of Sam Nunberg subpoenaed for grand jury came out, and then suddenly it was on Twitter that the guy was all over TV. And he started on MSNBC with Katie Tur, and then he went to CNN, and it went on all night until its denouement, its culmination, I guess, on Aaron Burnett, where he was audibly, as Gary and Shannon were playing earlier today, audibly a little inebriated. So we'll definitely get to that. And let me just say this. As we're all sitting here in Los Angeles now, more than a day removed from the Academy Awards, and beloved Los Angeles icon and Laker and NBA legend Kobe Bryant with a Academy Award during the hashtag Time's Up Academy Awards, hashtag Me Too, and the whole thing. And I'm really, really honestly kind of surprised at some of the backlash from a lot of Kobe's leg humpers in regards to just simply the squeamishness that many, many, many people felt by seeing Hollywood, on the one hand, bypass Ryan Seacrest on their way into the Academy Awards, a guy who has this accusation from a makeup stylist or whatever. Yet a couple hours later, a standing ovation for Kobe Bryant, who 14 years ago was charged with rape. And then it goes civil, it gets settled, the whole thing. And I mean, I don't know what to tell KFI listeners. Can you separate the basketball player from the very flawed man who's admitted his flaws and the whole thing? And we had Stephen Gregory in here yesterday playing that Kobe audio where he was saying that the best advice he got was from his daughter, who said, "Dad, leave your comfort zone and make the movie or whatever." And I didn't say this on the air yesterday, but that would have been convenient 14 years ago for him to have a child to say to him, "Dad, don't rape the concierge." But regardless, and so the reason I bring this up, and I'm not going to point fingers or tweet out a link. But I heard something on Los Angeles radio yesterday in the 3 o'clock hour that really blew me away. And it was an argument about what it means to settle out of court. Okay, and can we all just get off our high horse on this one and just admit that, lots of people settle for lots of things. You punch a paparazzi and he charges you, and you want it to go away, you settle, he goes away, whatever. You're a celebrity and you T-bone somebody. You want it to go away, you settle. But when you settle, they sign a form saying, "Yea, verily, forsooth, I shall not speaketh about this incident, nor is this in any way an admission of guilt." And all that's a normal settlement, right? We're all on the same page there. Then you've got your Neverland Ranch style settlement. And so this is the thing that kind of killed me about this. How do we all feel about Michael Jackson and the various lawsuits he settled? If you're a longtime KFI listener, and producer Nick Viverka, when did Michael Jackson die? What was the date he died? 2009. Who was filling in for John and Ken that day? Me. Okay. Here's what happened. Michael Jackson croaks. TMZ, Radar Online, have it first. We report it because, I'm not a reporter. I'm an opinion guy. BBC calls, and they want to know if they can stream KFI on BBC because Michael Jackson croaking in Europe is huge. I mean, subways are stopping and Big Ben's chiming. It was huge. Within an hour of him dying, because no matter what happened, no matter who is on the air here on KFI, we have one thing in common, and that's we're all really big on the truth. So within an hour of him dying, I had to bring up the fact that in Los Angeles, his memory will always be smeared with what happened at Neverland Ranch. Because you cannot separate Los Angeles, California. You can't separate Michael Jackson from what happened at Neverland Ranch because it happened around here, the settlements around here, etc. Right? So BBC producer calls back and says, "We're going to stop taking your live stream if you're going to continue doing that to Michael Jackson." I mean, he literally was still warm. Dr. Conrad What's-His-Face had just stopped using his chest as a trampoline. And again, with all due respect, and the body's still warm, but in Los Angeles, California, you can't escape that. Okay, so when I have to point out what a contradiction it was to see Hollywood give a standing ovation to the guy who had a settled out of court rape charge. That's how the charges were dropped. And if you want to tell me that that's what an innocent man does, then you may do that. You can do that. If you're that person, if money's no object, if you're made of money and you're charged with rape, and you can have O.J.'s defense team, and you know you didn't do it. You know for a fact you didn't do it. Do you fight it for your name, or do you settle and make it go away? That's on you. What do you do if you're made of money? This is not a truck driver. This is Kobe Bryant. Well, we all know what happened, and I get it. A settlement is not a guilty plea. I understand that, but it was a settlement with a non-disclosure agreement and a letter of apology, et cetera. All right. So the entire contradiction that I saw Sunday night, and the reason I tweeted out "Area Rapist wins Academy Award" is the same thing I said yesterday, which was, I get it. It's a settlement, and settlements are not guilty pleas. But here we are in civil court where the bar is a little lower than in criminal court. In criminal court, you got to be 12-0. That's why the prosecutors have such an uphill battle. That's why they don't arbitrarily just throw around indictments, because you got to be 12-0 in criminal court. Civil court, not so much. So you do the math, you weigh the risk and reward, you settle, you get out of the way. If are you 1,000% innocent? And you want it to go away civilly, do you still do that because money is no object? I don't know. That's up to you. But the point I made Monday morning was what an amazing contradiction that was to see that award, to see that Academy who voted over, I think the voting period starts in December. I forgot when it starts. But it was not a surprise to anyone that he was a nominee. There he was. And if all the Academy people want to say, "Oh, no, we did it purely on artistic merit," well, that's fine. Okay, fine. But then why did everyone in that hall give him a standing ovation? Because they're admirers of the short animated film Dear Basketball? I don't know. But to see some of the, effectively what you would call celebrity enablers to collectively put on their blinders as if what happened 14 years ago didn't happen is a bit shocking. Well, meanwhile, you're wearing a hashtag Time's Up lapel pin. And Emma, which one was Hermione? Yeah, she's Hermione. Yeah, she had Time's Up temporarily tattooed on her arm, and they forgot the apostrophe S. But she owned it. She owned it on Instagram. And then again, I did not see her. I don't know. If everyone else is standing up, you're not the person to sit down. If anyone stayed seated and did not give Kobe a standing ovation, then you may look yourself in the mirror. But I mean, I gotta say, you all have opinion. We all have opinions about Michael Jackson. And I mean, it was a fairly remarkable day. I happened to be on the air the day he died. I was filling in for John and Ken, and I could not escape my reaction, which is tragic. He had a tragic life. He had an a-hole of a dad. It's sad that he's gone before his dad. That being said, there's another legacy, but there's that. So I guess we can't bring it up about Kobe. Lesson learned. We'll be back right after this. It is the Gary and Shannon Show. Brian Suits in. Back right after this with Conor McGregor's debut with a commercial featuring an F-bomb from an Irishman. That more KFI AM 640, more stimulating talk. Monica Ricks with the news.
LA County prosecutors say they will not charge the LAPD officer who shot a former 14-year-old boy in Boyle Heights. That shooting sparked protests in 2015. Officers found a revolver near the boy's body and claimed he had shot.
You're not on the monitor. You're only. What's that? Yeah, yeah. Yeah. If you haven't heard, what I'm specifically talking about is. Wait, I have to read a message from Michelle Cube. Okay. Yesterday, Rodney Pete called in to Petros and Money, and I was really blown away because he was basically being a Kobe apologist. All Petros said was what I said, which is I'm a little surprised in 2018 that that the Academy Award went to Kobe, right? And so Rodney just vehemently disagreed, which surprised me because he has a fairly prominent family-based reality show, and here he is on Los Angeles radio, basically, making excuses for Kobe. It blew me away. I'm gonna turn the lights up a bit. All right, let's try that. How's that? Any better? And in the case, Kobe never had that moment that Tiger did. Tiger didn't rape anybody; he was just cheating on his wife. But Tiger had that moment where he came forward and he apologized to everyone he had let down, his fans and the whole thing. I like my hair today, and I don't recall that from Kobe. I don't think I did a email campaign for Super Hyper Local Sunday. I don't believe so.
I would say locally, the reporters, there's not much going on.
Yeah, so we had no one out yesterday and no one out today?
No, we did, but Andrew's on Metro showing off new body screening for bomb/weapons.
Oh, I did? Okay. I did. Apparently I did ask people to even... Well, good for me, because Super Hyper Local Sunday is now the Sunday show.
Chris Sancarlo, LAPD report shows felony/misdemeanor arrests of the homeless are up about 10%, and the number in the thousands annually.
If he's out on it, if he has...
got stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe...
we'll take him.
1135. To me, that seems like the meatiest one in here.
Yeah. But what, the rest of homeless people are up?
Yeah, felony misdemeanor arrests.
Oh, right. Yeah, basically they get a free shower and a free jumpsuit, and then they're out by 2 p.m.
Yeah. And then Corbin Carson is on there's another LA County homeless initiative. And then the county's paying $6 million to a man who suffered brain damage in the custody of the sheriff's department.
Oops.
But let me hit up Chris. He might have something good. And I'll see if he can do 1135.
It's time for the spectacular 72nd Annual Fred Hall Show, the nation's ultimate outdoor show. Celebrate the passion of fishing, boating, hunting, and international travel at the Fred Hall Show, March 7th to the 11th at the Long Beach Convention Center. Presented by Progressive. Details at fredhall.com. From the City of Angels to Lion City, United Airlines now offers daily nonstop service from LAX to Singapore
I called out K-Rock. There's a great new band. If you like Led Zeppelin, and I mean Led Zeppelin was before my time, but in high school I got into Zeppelin, and still love them. You know the whole thing. And there's a great new band called Greta Van Fleet, and it's three brothers and the drummer, and they do original music, and they're phenomenal. And I don't know why they're not on the air in Los Angeles. And I mean, I talked to Bean about it this morning, and I said, dude, why are these guys not dominating K-Rock? And I had to tweet that out. I gotta call Kevin Weatherly out on that one because it's a great band. The update on the Dale Dye movie is that Tom Hanks is going to produce No Better Place to Die. The Tom Hanks, the Dale Dye movie. Dale Dye is currently working with Hanks in New Orleans on his World War II movie. When they are done with that, then he's going to produce the Dale Dye movie. Yes, I saw the Niger helmet cam video. I talked about it yesterday with Gary and Shannon, and then talked about it half an hour ago on Tactical Tuesday.
Ryan Burrow is on that Nashville mayor if you want to talk to him
Yeah.
about that. So we could do him maybe at 12. Let's do him at 1.
Okay.
And then Mark Remillard is, we had yesterday, is doing Nunberg stuff,
Okay.
if you're interested in that.
Are these from yours?
Yeah. So any you don't want, I'm going to give to Neil.
How do you spot a candy coating? Is that the shine to it? You said that grocery stores scrub the candy coating.
They take that shit off. Like
Is
those,
that
those.
shine? Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, they make it dull. Those eggs there. Here, hand me a blue one. I have to show YouTube
Smell
live.
like you. That's
That's what people are washing off. This is from an Easter egger. I don't know if you can see it, but it's blue. It's actually blueberry flavored. It's a really amazing thing. But yeah, they wash the coating off. These eggs will last for 30 days without refrigeration. But in America and Canada, we refrigerate eggs. You do not have to refrigerate eggs.
So would you want to talk to Remillard again about Nunberg
Yeah,
and Swamp Watch?
yeah.
Okay.
So I'll play this McGregor audio here. Gary and Shannon show. Brian Suits filling in until 2 p.m. Gary and Shannon are filling in for Bill Handel, and they're doing a great job waking you up in the morning with some super fresh hits. You know what's great is I realized this morning driving in that because I used to do music morning shows. What an easy gig that is, that you play 6 songs an hour, and then in between it, you just have to be marginally lucid for a couple minutes in Los Angeles. And what an enormous fail so many shows are at that. I mean, I was stunned. Like, in between really good songs, you break and just steal my oxygen, effectively. Well, and then of all places on Earth, Los Angeles has no excuse for crappy morning shows. None whatsoever. But anyway, check out Gary and Shannon because they're not that. And they don't play any music. They talk. It's witty banter and folksy anecdotes, and do a phenomenal job in the morning. And they wake you up and get you ready for the day. I think that's how it goes. All right, let's play. Who's more understandable, Conor McGregor or Nunberg? So here's the deal. Yesterday we were breaking the story that this guy, Sam Nunberg, former Trump advisor, et cetera, that around noon, our time, he began hitting cable TV, talking about, apparently he didn't read the second page on a subpoena, about here are your violations. Here are the punitive steps that we can take if you do not honor this subpoena. He decided that subpoenas are simply a piece of paper that you can either use for personal hygiene or you can light a cigar with it or whatever. And he was publicly stating this, saying, well, I'm not going to gather up all my emails by Friday, and I'm not even going to show up and the whole thing. And yeah, you'll want to get to page 2 on that and read up all about that. So within a couple hours, now by then he's done MSNBC. Then he did Jake Tapper on CNN, and he's made statements like Trump's an idiot. and Trump knew about the Russian meeting. He talked about it a week before. He's dropping all kinds of bombs, and apparently he starts the loudmouth soup early on. Now I don't know. I guess it's about 5 p.m. East Coast. 2 p.m. our time. He starts cracking into Grandpa's cough medicine, and then he winds up going on with Aaron Burnett, and he was audibly intoxicated. So we'll play that for you in a second. But first, Burger King has a new commercial with Irish MMA fighter Conor McGregor, who's practically, I'm assuming he has a residence in Vegas now, that he splits time between the U.S. and Ireland. But on the best of days, Conor McGregor is, when he slows down, you can understand what he's saying, because he has done a really good job of sort of Americanizing his accent. But Burger King is paying him to be understood. And apparently you cannot get Conor McGregor without an F-bomb. So he's endorsing their new spicy chicken sandwich. So, and again, he lost to Floyd Mayweather. Okay, he lost that bout. But he has his little bling limousine, and then he has his private jet, the whole thing. I know, and he agreed to fight, Marcus the Queensberry rules and all that. So anyway, Burger King has tapped him now for the spicy chicken sandwich that they're debuting. Creatively, he had to drop an F-bomb, and I didn't beep it out. Burger King beeped it out, but they don't cut away from his mouth. He drops an F-bomb. And then at the very end, he drops a joke about, thanks, guys, you paid for my kid's college. But again, it's lost on us, unless you're a member of U2 in Malibu. I can't understand him. So anyway, here's Conor McGregor selling the Burger King sandwich.
All this chicken and king talk swirling around out there. It's got me really fired up.
He's in his jet.
I'm fired up to try this new spice.
Oh, I buried the F-bomb. He's in his private jet, sitting down with a Burger King bag, and he's really angry, and he's about to get in the ring with a spicy chicken sandwich, or an effing chicken sandwich.
I'm fired up to try this new spicy crispy chicken sandwich from this king.
And the Burger
No
King sits
doubt
down
I'm gonna
next to him.
destroy this thing. So spicy and crispy and juicy, it just doesn't stand a chance.
See, because he's going to destroy it. He's eating it.
From one king to another, this pack's a real kick.
At this point, the creative people are saying, it's hard enough to understand an Irishman in America. I bet if we stuff his mouth with a chicken sandwich, it'll be better.
From one king to another,
Huh?
this pack's a real kick. Spicy. Introducing the new spicy crispy chicken sandwich, only at Burger King.
Okay, now listen to this. He's making a joke here about, thanks, guys, whatever, you sent my kid to college. I only understand the very end of it.
Oh, and by the way, thanks for all the trash talk, guys. You just put Connor Jr. through college.
Yeah, better than he's actually speaking Irish and all that. Thanks for all the trash talk? Well, I got news for him. UNLV didn't break anyone's bank, okay? So
Put Connor Jr. through college.
True college. It's not like he's not going to Stanford. Unless the acorn falls very far from the oak. We'll be back right after this. We'll contrast this with a drunken former Trump advisor right after this. Gary and Shannon, Brian Suits filling in. KFI AM 640. More stimulating talk. Monica Ricks with the news.
Firefighters have rescued a hiker in Griffith Park who got hurt in the fall. Officials say they saw it about 2 days ago.
Okay.
Man was found
Yeah, Gary and Shannon, actually, they sound great in the morning. They sound terrific. What do you mean Victorinox or Luminox? Luminox are watches. Victorinox are one of the 2 Swiss Army knife brands. What the hell are you talking about? I do have one of those Luminox watches, but it did break. The 2 official Swiss Army brands are Wenger and Victorinox. And one's called the official Swiss Army watch. The other one's called the traditional Swiss Army, something like that. But I don't do Swiss Army watches. I do Gerber or I do Leatherman. with an orange cord. Yeah, I do Gerber or I do Leatherman because they're both made in Portland, Oregon. Portland, Oregon turns out to be the best place on earth because Gerber, Leatherman, Danner Boots, Leupold Optics, and Swarovski Optics, all in Portland. So, dig, if you will, that picture.
Contain Bluetooth technology.
Am I in queue? All right, I gotta hear.
Talking to you, I have smelled alcohol in your breath.
Well, I have not had a drink.
You haven't had a drink, so that's
No.
not.
No.
So I just, because it is the talk out there, again, I know it's awkward, let me just give you the questions, you can categorically answer them. No, you have had a drink today?
My answer is no. I have not.
Anything else?
No.
No.
No. Besides my meds.
Okay.
Besides my meds. Hiron says, we have been watching you for a while and we'd like to offer you a job as a featured performer for our company. No, sorry, Pornhub. I'm afraid I would let you down. The late CNN interview is the one where he was spraying crazy juice all over the place like a sprinkler. The first one with Jake Tapper, he kind of he kept it together a little better.
Sessions is supposed to make some major sanctuary announcement in Sacramento today.
Oh, really? What time? And then Trump at 12:30
Yeah, he's gonna talk.
in Sacramento. That's
Yeah.
some big shit.
So that'll be interesting.
Tomorrow. Tomorrow.
Oh, I thought it was today. No, Wednesday. Today's Tuesday.
Yeah. Is there a pen? Do you have a BP?
Yeah, I'll get you one. Why do I keep thinking
Yep. ConnectPal.com. Dark Secret Place.
And Chris and Carlo is in that meeting right now, so
Oh,
he doesn't
okay.
know if he can get it. But the ABC guys should be good to go. I just reached out.
Did they just release this? Yeah.
Yeah, that just came out about a half hour ago.
Yes, Cricket. Columbia River Knife and Tools are very good. They are made in China, but they're very well made.
Also, the baby animal bracket is on the Gary and Shannon page. We can push that.
Oh, okay.
We still gotta get the pictures after the pictures on.
These are just reading glasses. They're 1.0. They're called Peepers, and they're really cheap on Amazon. Yeah, so I can't answer for you. Oh, land confiscation in South Africa. Yeah, my sister-in-law and her family are in Cape Town, and they just left. They just left Zambia because Zambia went crazy 2 years ago, and so they moved to Cape Town to make things better. And they live around a bunch of former South African special forces guys. And they are gonna pop smoke out of there before it goes. By the way, there's gonna be a drought. They're literally in Cape Town. They're gonna run out of water in April, and everyone is hoarding water right now. There will be murders over water. So anyway, my sister-in-law lives around a bunch of former South African special forces guys, and and these are guys who didn't leave. These are guys who fought for the country and didn't leave, and so they're now to a point where they're reinforcing their foundations with more concrete. At which point, if you're doing that, move to Australia because you're not going to win. You're not going to win. There's 40 million people versus 2 million people, and you're not going to win. And all they got to do is look at what happened in Zimbabwe when they seized the land from all the English farmers that made Rhodesia the breadbasket of Africa. That country went right into the shitter because they gave the land to people who had never been farmers. They were barely good terrorists, you know. I go to a really awesome barber in Palmdale. I'm like the only white guy there. It's a Hispanic barber. You know, I should say Raiders fans, but the guy's great. I love these dudes. And what's it called? I'll give you the name of the next break. I can't recommend them highly enough. They're cheap and they're awesome, and they play the NFL Network. KFI AM 640, more stimulating talk. It is Gary and Shannon. Brian sits in for Gary and Shannon today. Gary and Shannon filling in for Bill Handel and Bill Handel Morning Show. So check them out. They're doing a bang up job, and they sound like they wake up in the morning. So that's as I'm flipping around this morning, I was hearing morning shows that were unaware, apparently, that the audience was actually listening. And that always irritated me. It's like when you're driving into work, you want, okay, sure, if you want to hear music, that's fine. But at least the people that are on the air between the songs, make it sound like you're awake as well, or since you've arrived at work. But that's, I'll go ahead and joust that windmill off air. Attorney General Jeff Sessions, this is breaking news, by the way. Tomorrow in Sacramento, guess who's coming to dinner? Jeff Sessions, the Attorney General of the United States of America. And evidently, the Department of Justice released this just a couple minutes ago. Attorney General Jeff Sessions is coming to Sacramento on Wednesday morning to make a, quote, major sanctuary jurisdiction announcement, close quote. This is what officials with the DOJ said. The announcement will be happening at the 26th Annual Law Enforcement Legislative Day, hosted by the California Peace Officers Association at the Kimpton Sawyer Hotel next to the Golden One Center. You know, by the Dickies. Yeah, that's the place. I don't know. Sessions' appearance in Sacramento comes a week after more than 150 people were arrested in California for being in the country illegally during a 3-day sweep by U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency. This is from KCRA up there. Well, sorry, you're kind of burying the lead there. Yes, they were arrested for being here illegally, but most of them were arrested for outstanding violent felony warrants. Ding, 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 ding. And then, oh, by the way, just to refresh all of you, I know you know this because we're all very well read in this issue here on KFI. First time you break into my country, that's a misdemeanor. Every time after that, that's a felony. So the dude that killed Kate Steinle, I believe he had like 6 prior deportations. And that's felony, 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 felony. So there's that. So as long as we all know that the federal government has absolutely every right in the entire world. In fact, I think you'll find that they're actually mandated to enforce the law. If you drill down, Mr. Newsom, or Mr. Villar, if you really read the fine print on these various agencies in the Department of Justice, turns out it's their mission. It's their job to enforce federal laws. Because again, down there, down south, folks, that's not a California border. That's an American border. And California, fine. If California doesn't want to enforce immigration law, welcome to Special Order 40. Okay, we're 4 decades away from that. I get that in LA, but to actively interfere with the feds doing this very crucial mission, because again, you're not a country if you can't control your own terrain and you can't control who comes in. So anyway, Jeff Sessions coming to California tomorrow to make a major, quote, major sanctuary jurisdiction announcement, close quote. And so the sanctuary city thing doesn't mean the same thing in San Francisco that it means down here. It's sort of an arbitrary title. What it essentially means is that if someone has an immigration hold and they are in San Francisco Men's Central Jail, the deputies are legally barred from informing federal forces that federal law enforcement that somebody with an immigration hold or an outstanding warrant is about to get out. You know, of course, here in Los Angeles, if you remember the name Jamil Shaw, then you'll recall that a criminal alien with gang ties and prior felony arrests got out of Men's Central. And I'm not sure, I believe it was later that afternoon is when they challenged a young man who was going to graduate from high school and go to Stanford and asked him, who are you with? When he said, I'm not with anyone, they shot him dead. And oops, turns out LA County could have hung on to the guy, but they didn't. So anyway, I get the feeling that Jeff Sessions is here to perhaps address that. By the way, besides the fact that the mayor of Oakland just effectively acted as a drug alarm bell, as a guard dog, by announcing to illegal aliens in the Oakland area that ICE is going to be there to roll up the most violent of them. And this is the part where I would really love to see the critical mass occur up in the Bay Area, and somebody who had multiple violent, outstanding felony warrants went underground for a couple days because of the mayor of Oakland's heads up, because she's like a lookout for the Crips or something. And then the guy commits another violent felony in Oakland. And then it turns out that he was on the list. He was on ISIS. He was on ICE ''S list with a good address, that they were going to grab the guy because he had violent, outstanding felony warrants in California. They were going to grab him, deport him, whatever, but get him off the street. But the mayor of Oakland gave him a heads up, and he went underground, changed his address, whatever. So that's how this blows back on you, Mayor Schaaf. So anyway, Jeff Sessions, the Attorney General, is in town tomorrow, so that's going to be kind of a big deal. Again, by the way, 12:30 Pacific time, President Trump is going to answer questions, probably questions involving his former advisor, Sam Nunberg, going all over cable TV last night. He began around noon on MSNBC with Katie Tur. He didn't sound all hooched up or anything there. He was just on the phone, and he said he thinks that Trump has done something. But he was kind of vague about that. Then he goes on to say Trump knew about the Russia meeting in Trump Tower, the whole thing. By the end of the night, he's on with Aaron Burnett, and here's a little bit of that. And so we'll
Talking to you.
I'll play you Aaron Burnett tries to do an intervention with him about substance abuse, but here he is ending his night with Aaron Burnett.
Yeah.
I have smelled alcohol in your back.
Well, I have not had a drink.
You haven't had a drink, so that's
No.
not.
No.
So I just, because it is the talk out there, again, I know it's awkward, let me just give you the question,
Well,
you can categorically answer that. No, you haven't had a drink today?
My answer is no. I have not.
Anything else?
No.
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 Pretty emphatic no. Nothing else.
Besides my meds.
Oh.
Okay.
Antidepressants. Is that okay?
No, I'm just trying to understand.
Well, look. They
What
can say
happened today?
They can say whatever.
And I only saw a little bit today, but producer Nick, you said that he was like eyeballing what was in his mug. Kind of late for coffee. Kind of late for coffee, bro. There's the end of a pursuit happening on Channel 5, and it's LAPD and Ford Explorers, and we missed the pursuit, but this is the part where the guy stops and follows directions, and the passenger leaves the passenger side, then the driver leaves, and all that. So whatever this pursuit was, it's over now, but there's a lot of Ford automobiles in black and white colors behind these people. I don't know who they were. Anyone know what they're calling it a standoff? Okay. Well, I see a door open, so we'll update you on that. I don't know where it is. But you know what? What a shocker! There's an emission testing garage right next to it, so that narrows it down a bit, doesn't it? So anyway, somewhere in Los Angeles, there is a pursuit suspect standoff at an intersection, and that's how you know it's Tuesday. So anyway, more of Sam Nunberg ending his night. And I don't know him, so I don't know what he sounds like when he's all hooched up. So I'm not a judge, but here's a little bit more.
Why, though, fall on the sword for someone else? And I asked that very specifically. Okay, Susan McDougal, I don't know if you remember her, right? But she was involved with...
Did she say fall on the sore? That's kind of gross.
Why, though, fall on the sword for someone else? And
I didn't hear a D there. Monica Ricks, you're the tiebreaker. You don't know that saying? No, that's not a saying. The saying is fall on your sword. Oh, I'm sorry. See, I pegged you for someone with a bit of a classical background. So, yeah. Folks, if you don't know the expression, it's fall on your sword. It's an ancient Roman tradition if you effed up. And meaning literally take your sword out, put it up against a brick wall, and lean forward on it. But not fall on your sword. Sorry. No, that's a very painful event that can happen, and just don't do that.
Why, though, fall on the sword for someone else? And I asked that very specifically. Okay, Susan McDougal, I don't know if you remember her, right? But she was involved in the Whitewater investigation, right? She did not comply with a grand jury subpoena.
Yeah.
She went to prison for 18 months.
Womp, womp, womp. To prison for this. This is ridiculous. Look at this. Carter Page.
All right. Well, we'll compare him to Conor McGregor and find out just how hooched up he was. I got to say, I'll tell you what I think about this guy when we come back, about whether or not he was drunk by the end of the night, and he's waking up today regretting every single interview he did. That and more coming up. It is Brian Suits filling in for Gary and Shannon. Gary and Shannon are in for Bill Handel. Doing a great job. I'll be back right after this KFI AM 640. More stimulating talk. Monica Ricks with the news. You mean downtown LA, 54th Street? I don't need, as long as I have a Laco 1925 Flieger, as long as I have a German-made 1925 pilot's watch, which, by the way, I know it says March 3rd. As you see, it's Dienstag. Tomorrow this will say Mitt, because tomorrow is Mittwoch. That's Wednesday in German, Mittwoch. And you'll notice the minutes are on the outside and the hours are on the inside. I need to change that date. Oh. Look at that. I just changed the date. Look at that. Look at that baby. You can knock somebody out with this thing. That's why the Germans made it. Beautiful watch. And this is a NATO band, by the way. That's how it works. And you go da 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 da.
So I don't have confirmation yet, but I put Mark Remillard at 12:30. If Trump is still talking afterwards, you want to dip in on the TV just to hear what?
Yes, waterproof.
Interesting happening.
Well, I thought at 12:30 we would just take it. Oh, you mean wait?
I asked for 12:30. I can ask. Yeah, because that seems more important. Maybe I'll put him at 12:50.
What was he talking about?
Nunberg.
Yeah. Well, let's see what happens. I have a feeling.
I mean, you could take it for a bit, and if you're like
12:30 probably means 12:45.
Right.
So let's keep him for 12:30.
Okay.
But he can stand by.
Okay. Yeah. And if you gotta boot him. It happens.
What did I do with my view? Did I bring that shit in that I?
Was it color?
Yeah, it's
I
like.
think I saw it on the ping pong table. Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Did everyone hear about the private nightclub in Northridge? LA police and agents from the top alcohol regulator arrested 2 people and cited more than a dozen last Saturday at a Northridge home.
Yeah, I like that one.
And it looks like they seized one of those shitty Smith & Wesson 1911 copies. I don't like those. You know what? On further review, that might be Jim, if you're watching. Yeah, isn't that a FEG? Isn't that a FEG 9JK? FEG makes an excellent. The Hungarians make an excellent Browning high power copy with a frame-mounted safety like a real high power, but this is that FEG double stack 9, and it's double action, unlike a high power, and they are shite. They are complete shite. So you're saying this is a Smith & Wesson 5906? The grip looks like that. You don't think so? All right. You know that's the thing about quote major sanctuary jurisdiction announcement. I don't know. They might. I bet you. I bet you Trump saw what that mayor of Oakland did, and he went, fucking ballistic. And it wouldn't surprise me whatsoever if federal agents go to Oakland City Hall and arrest her. Hmm, 7 minutes left in my poll from yesterday.
Did you hear that Petros and Rodney got into about Cody's thing?
It was the best radio. I was talking to
Did you
Kate's
listen
about
to
it.
the crosstalk?
Well, that's why I was saying what I said at 10.
Yeah, no, I figured.
I mean, I wish I'd been in there with Petros.
I went back and I podcasted the crosstalk. It's pretty good.
Yeah, I told Shannon to listen to that 3 o'clock hour
Yeah.
because, wait, how much time do we have?
We're coming back.
Oh. I got to pick my nose. All done. Yeah, Courtney Friel is gorgeous, and even though she comes across as kind of ditzy, she actually is really funny. And remember, she and Lauren Sivan came from Big Fox, and it's funny because if you get those two together, they're hilarious. KFI AM 640, more stimulating talk. It is the Gary and Shannon Show. Gary and Shannon are filling in for Bill Handel, doing a top-notch job. Check him out. No music, no need, just content of the awesome variety. Spraying awesome juice all over the place. So yesterday I started a poll that now has 5 minutes left. And I forgot to give an update when we went up there too, but I was asking specifically the KFI audience, and I understand this is not scientific because I'm talking about my Twitter followers at Dark Secret Place, who also are KFI listeners. And the question was, did KFI listeners watch the Oscars? And I said, look, honestly, I really want to know. No joke answers. And admittedly, I kind of put my thumb on the scale on this because there were three choices. It was yes, no, or held to the no. So with 4 minutes left, 986 people voted. I'm going to call that a sample, a good sample of my Twitter followers that listen to KFI. The answer is 36% no, 54% held to the no, for a total of 90%, 10% yes. And you know what? That's what the rating said too. And because I have a feeling that the average KFI listener is outside the range fan of the average Oscars viewer. So I do believe that even as a guilty pleasure, I think KFI people read the headlines after the Oscars, but they weren't actually watching Kobe win an Oscar during #MeToo night. I did. I was on the air. I was on the air doing super hyper local Sundays, and nothing more hyper local than the Oscars, and the thing went on till 10:50. So that happened. All right. Well, so Sam Nunberg during Swamp Watch, we'll check in with ABC News about Mr. Nunberg and where he is today, if he has a banging hangover or whatever. But he started off. Let's see. Where's the Katie Turbit? Katie Turbit. He started off saying, like around noon on MSNBC, that Trump may have done something.
But you sat there in that room being questioned by Mueller's investigators. I want to hear directly from you. Do you think that they have something on the president?
I think they may. I think that he may have done something during the election, but I don't know that.
So that's 3 p.m. East Coast. I'm going to say if you're a high-functioning alcoholic, you've cracked the loudmouth soup by 3 p.m. So, and he's made the phone calls. So he probably has a couple precursors, and he starts making the phone calls. It ends though with this bit where Erin Burnett finally on CNN 6 hours later calls him on it because she can smell alcohol.
Talking to you,
Yeah.
I have smelled alcohol in your breath.
Well, I have not had a drink.
You haven't had a drink, so that's
No.
not.
No.
So I just, because it is the talk out there, again, I know it's awkward, let me just give you the question,
Well,
you can categorically
I
answer
answer-
that. No,
my
you haven't had a
my
drink
answer,
today?
My answer is no. I have not.
Anything else?
No.
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 Meds.
Besides my meds.
There you go.
Okay.
Antidepressants. Is that okay?
No, I'm just trying to understand.
Well, look. They
What
can say.
happened?
So there you go. You be the jury on that one. Then producer Nick says that he was swishing his coffee mug around, which is what you do with alcohol. You don't do that with coffee. I never swish my coffee around. Oh, hell yeah. When I have a Grey Goose and diet tonic water, I swish it around. Yeah, when my Jaeger, I swish it. You swish booze, not coffee. And so that is what we say. And I bet he has a bang. Well, also, if he's a high-functioning alcoholic, he probably doesn't have a banging hangover this morning. Just a lot of career regret. But he said, I hate Corey Lewandowski. He was having an affair with Hope Hicks. So apparently Hope Hicks is having an affair with everybody. Everyone with an actual top secret clearance. So there's that. But a remarkable event yesterday. Trump will be speaking live at 12:30. We'll take that. When we come back, the 2 future governors want free housing for absolutely everybody. And hey, did you miss out on that illegal nightclub in Northridge? I'll tell you all about it right after this. It is the Gary and Shannon Show. Brian Suits filling in. KFI AM 640, more stimulating talk. How come I can get 210 people on at 11 p.m. on a Saturday night, but only 59 here? Then again, I didn't tweet it out, so. That's true. That's a great point. KFI, real KFI listeners are, you're streaming at work. You hear about the judge in Seattle ruling in favor of the homeless man parking his truck downtown. Surprised Washington beat California to that one. No, it didn't. No, it did not. We have been parking RVs in Santa Monica for 10 years in LA. And the only way you can ticket them is if they empty their poo. So no, you would think, but nope, on that one, Los Angeles beat Seattle to the whole parking, living out of your truck a couple of years ago. I may have to use the bathroom.
Oh, okay. Which is good because, we don't know. Trump may start on time. I mean, the gas station crash. Where's that?
Was that?
Oh, Cajon Pass.
Oh. Would you be an absolute lamb and get me the blood orange one? The cucumber one, this is so LA that I don't want the cucumber water. I want the blood orange one.
Hint?
Yeah, Michelle has them in her office.
Take a hint.
I mean, do you get the hint? I will say this: I love 10 a.m. I'm a big morning show guy. I frankly, I thought I did a good morning show on KABC. It was 9 to noon. It was a good show. But yeah. Gary, I like, on a personal level, I like Gary and Shannon, they're good friends, but I like them together. I like their show. And, I don't know what to say. If you don't like them, then I don't know what you don't like about them. I think they're funny, and I think they're really topical, and they have a lot of energy in the morning, and they don't fuck shit up. And by the way, I'd love to go back. The program director at The Truth at KTTH, he decided to give himself the morning show. I would have done that show from here. I would have moved to Seattle, but I'd love to get back on Seattle radio. But the deal is, I just like LA radio. LA radio is the best in the world, and it's great to be here. And the whole deal. But, a daily show would be kind of cool. And that's right, the Wacky Cowbell.
I found it. It's an extra one. You can have it if you want to
thank
do a Wacky Cowbell.
And did you find that Sunnyvale's house story? I guess that's
Yeah, it
all.
should be in there.
That's all I need to know is that it went on at 8:50 and it
Yeah.
closed 2 million.
There's a story too about Silicon Valley workers living in Bend, Oregon,
Yeah.
traveling 10 hours.
I know a guy who lives in. Where's the Shakespeare Festival is in. I know someone that flies every day from Southern Oregon to San Jose.
Jesus.
Yeah, please. KFI AM 640, more stimulating talk. It is the Gary and Shannon Show. Gary and Shannon are filling in for Bill Handel. And I was able to drive in and not hear any annoying music and hear engaging content from smart people. So check out Gary and Shannon tomorrow. If you're wondering where in the heck fire they are, where in the HE double hockey sticks they are, which spells hell, they are filling in for Bill. Yeah. And they are kicking ASS, which spells ass. So this is interesting. If you were listening to last hour, the Department of Justice released that the Attorney General, Jeff Sessions, is going to be in Sacramento tomorrow to make a, quote, major sanctuary jurisdiction announcement, close quote. And their smart money's on one of two things happening. So dig, if you will, this picture, you guys. He's either there in conjunction with federal marshals to arrest the mayor of Oakland, or he's there to announce that the federal government is suing the state of California for our sanctuary bull feces. But he's not going to be there to say, we're against it. By the way, in case you're wondering, we're against this sanctuary crap. But now that it is a state policy, and there's absolutely no daylight between Sessions and Trump on this particular onerous policy, the sanctuary policy that we've all been victimized by, then I don't know what a third option would be. As a major sanctuary jurisdiction announcement, that makes me lean towards the federal government suing the state of California. But you know what? It doesn't rule the other thing out. Boy, you talk about publicity. And here's the thing that the mayor of Oakland doesn't quite understand is you're poking Trump. And the guy doesn't respond well to that, whether you're Rocket Man or whatever. But you're a mayor of a West Coast city in the United States in California. And if you all understand, right, that he is running for re-election, and if you want to be on his re-election commercials, you go ahead and you warn illegal aliens that ICE is coming for you. You will be on a Trump re-election campaign commercial. And you know what would end that commercial better than anything else? The mayor of Oakland in handcuffs. She knows what the hell she was doing, and she's an attorney, and she probably thinks that she is legally out of the woods somehow. But guess what? The Department of Justice is filled with attorneys who have been given the mission to find a reason to interact somehow in a handcuffy kind of way. So we'll see. Can I impose upon you, producer Nick? Can you find out what the schedule is of the 26th annual Law Enforcement Legislative Day hosted by the California Peace Officers Association? Of course, it's the one at the Kimpton Sawyer Hotel next to the Golden One Center, again, which is down the street from the Golden Corral, across the street from the Dickies, there in Sacramento, I believe on J Street. So anywho, something's going to happen tomorrow. Something of national import and something that is going to dominate the headlines in California. And it's not going to be the Attorney General arrives to announce that he sent a strongly worded letter to Governor Brown. So it's been, remember now, California, January 1st, at midnight on January 1st of 2018, suddenly sanctuary state becomes a state policy in contravention to federal law. And effectively, and you can ask anybody in Montana or anybody in Wyoming or anybody next door in Nevada, how long are you going to last with laws on the books that interfere with federal law, especially Nevada? Try that. 90% of Nevada is federally owned. The casinos also very, very, very federally regulated. How long would Nevada last not cooperating with ICE? Not long. So we'll see. We will see what I'm fascinated. by this tomorrow. So we just got that announcement about an hour ago. Well, so you were in Northridge, and this is not a thing that I was aware of, but basically a private nightclub was busted on Saturday night. LA police and agents from the state's top alcohol regulator, I think that's the California Alcohol Regulation Board, whatever it is, arrested 2 people and cited more than a dozen others last Saturday at a Northridge home that authorities said was operating as an illegal nightclub or bar. California Department of Alcoholic Beverage Control, the CDABC, along with LAPD's Devonshire Division, descended on a home, according to the LA Daily News. On Wilbur Avenue, February 24th, they found 30 people partying in a makeshift event space featuring billiard tables, a dart board, disco lights, and several video slot machines. So I wonder what the biggest offense was, the video slot machines. The home also sported commercial-grade refrigerators, sinks, and an ice maker. What, those are illegal? No, they had an ice maker. And by the way, and you can see here they're buying Costco cases of beer. And so, yeah, I'm not going to approach this with any sort of bias. I'm just going to say that there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cases of Heineken, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then of Corona, and then there's 18 cases of Modelo. Yeah, so probably some Cambodians partying there. And so anyway, $1,000 in cash, and then and here's why this is a totally bogus nightclub, by the way. Even in LA, these are outrageous prices. So not only are you going to the Northridge neighborhood illegal nightclub, but a Modelo is $6. Corona, Bud Light, Heineken, also $6. Soda, $3. Burritos, $5. That just says snacks, $1. And then whatever agua is, it's $3. Yeah, and or this, I believe. Well, they said at the time when LAPD, when the long arm of the law descended on this den of iniquity, this is funny. This is amusing. This was happening in a neighborhood. By the way, of all the things that happened, of all the things that get shot on video in the backyards in Northridge, this is the one except you know what, LAP does, the only way you can violate the law doing that in your backyard is if the performers aren't wearing condoms. So in this case, an illegal nightclub moves the needle more than shooting porn in someone's backyard. So anyway, what did I say? A dozen, 2 people who were in charge of the den of iniquity, and more than a dozen others who were partying in this private home. The home, commercial grade ice machine. They seized cases of beer and $1,000 in cash from a home in Northridge. But here's what and also, by the way, there was a handgun from a felon. They said was living in a home. It's illegal for felons to have handguns. Unless, of course, they crossed here illegally. A tenant who police said was working as the assistant manager of the bar was also arrested. Yes, I love that. They're living in some house, and they're not calling each other, Biff and Johnny. It's you know what? We're not having this meeting without the assistant manager of the bar. So anyway, a felon in possession of a firearm. Agencies 40 cases of beer, including Corona, Heineken, Bud Licht, and Modelo. 3 slot machines, a small amount of drugs, $1,000 in cash. They also found what they said was the tenant's unregistered hand, a gun, and ammunition. 13 other people inside the house for various alcohol, gambling, and drug violations. All right, so I'm being completely, absolutely honest here. If of all these things, what was the thing that crossed the line? That they were charging for the beer that they bought? I mean, is it illegal when Gary Hoffman has a Super Bowl party? But if he said, "Hey, everyone, throw in $30 for all the whatever," is that suddenly a nightclub in Stevenson Ranch? Well, to do what? To visit a friend's house and remunerate him for the delicious beverages that he provided? That's the part that well, here's the thing. It's not in the story, so I don't know. But did he charge cover? I don't know, but I mean, did the guy charge cover? Was Richard Blade there from 10 p.m. to midnight, giving away lots of K-Rock goodies? So anyway, mention Depeche Mode, get in free. We'll be back right after this. It is the Gary and Shannon Show. Gary and Shannon filling in for Bill Handel. Brian Suits here till 10 p.m. KFI, 2 p.m. Probably 2 p.m. KFI AM 640 more stimulating talk. Monica Ricks with the news. Yeah, that's what made me do it on my show on Sunday night, because I hadn't seen him in years, and he's like one of the best guys in radio, and he gave me the best advice ever that I've never followed. When I got fired from K-Rock, he said, "Listen to me, Big Leo. Listen to me. Don't leave Los Angeles. You will spend the rest of your life trying to get back here." And he was right. But he's a huge KFI listener.
It was the lowest rated Oscars in history. Kimmel shot back. He tweeted, "Thanks, lowest rated president in history." Well, Trump did complain that there are no stars anymore, except for your president. He, of course, added, "Just kidding." Weather and traffic next.
Hey, do you know there are programs with no upfront cost to going solar with Solar Max?
A lot of people think you have to take out a second mortgage to afford solar. That is not.
And we'll have lots of K-Rock goodies. I'll be at the Safari Bar West Covina till midnight. Mention K-Rock, get in free. I'll defer to Jim Froud on this. Me, personally, I see those patrol rifles for cops with 16-inch barrels for .308. And I mean, you're fine. You're gonna be a tack driver, out to 200 meters, fine. But you're really kind of short-arming what you should be doing with a .308. I would not be carrying a .308 without less than a 20-inch barrel. And you can still have a collapsible stock. That's the thing, is .308s on an AR platform are still very low recoil. It's a terrific platform. Honestly, it's better than a FAL. I'm really surprised that the AR-10, as originally developed, did not take off as a .308 rifle. but the Bushmaster Patrol, the Bushmaster .308, that is a terrific rifle, but it's a 16-inch barrel, and I'm not really down on that. The worst AR platform I've ever fired is from a company in Montana called Nemo Arms, and they have a sniper rifle called the Omen, and it's in 300 Win Mag, and there is an upper limit to what you can shoot out of an AR platform, and I think they found it. It's 300 Win Mag. Are they out of Idaho? I thought they were in Montana. I thought they were in Havre, Montana. But I know that the 2nd Battalion Rangers were given 2 of them by Nemo. They went to Yakima, and within like 5 magazines, they destroyed the rifles.
Here's some info on the legislative day. California Peace Officers Association puts it on. I was trying to find like a rundown of like their speakers or planned stuff, but they don't have it on their website. They just have the general.
Oh, I was right. It's on J Street. Yeah. No schedule.
Yeah. I'm gonna keep diddling around on it.
Well, that's the thing, is Jeff Sessions is going to go in front of a friendly crowd. Right. So the California Peace Officers Association, if he's there announcing the imminent arrest. Oh, they're in Nampa? Ooh. The imminent arrest of Mayor Schaaf.
That would be good.
You go to Ray's Farm Eggs on Facebook, at Ray's Farm Eggs. It's that's the thing, is I think Nemo makes some good weapons, but that 300 Win Mag AR with the gigantic magazines, they have a really, really interesting buffer within the bolt carrier. So there is a attempt to reduce the recoil even before it interfaces with the buffer, but it doesn't work. Holy shit, it doesn't work. The Niger ambush, I did not talk about it on the Saturday show. It's a very dark secret place topic. I'm a little leery about talking about it here on a Tuesday from 10 to 2 p.m. But it is the news. Did anyone see it? Was it on network news last night? I did not see.
Set up your account. Yeah, I didn't know who Richard Blade was a little bit before my time.
Oh yeah, and he's LA radio legend.
Well, because I didn't listen to K-Rock when I was a kid. So like my brother, I'm sure is a huge fan. But that was a great interview. It was a lot of fun.
And
I didn't hear yours. I just heard theirs.
Yeah, it was. He's one of those guys that calls me Big Leo from K-Rock. He, and Petros is the one who said, "Well, Brian Suits on K-Rock is Big Leo," and he said, "Brian Suits is Big Leo, really?" And so we reconnected, and
I sent him an email apparently.
I remembered what a great guy he is. He really, really is a great guy who made his own, wrote his own ticket.
Is it true Ronnie says he amps up his accent when he's on the radio?
What, you mean Rodney? You mean
Ronnie says that Blade ramps it up just a little.
Well, he's doing radio, yeah.
Like he does a little. Like
yeah, if you just ran into him and were chatting with him, he doesn't really lay it on very thick.
Right. Yeah.
But
a little extra British when he's on.
Yeah, yeah. KFI AM 640, more stimulating talk. It is the Gary and Shannon show. Brian Suits filling in for Gary and Shannon. They are filling in for Bill Handel, and filling in. They're spilling over the bucket, in fact, with awesome juice. So check them out tomorrow morning. And the housing prices are what's most ridiculous in California these days, right? Because so many of us are renting, so few people can afford to buy. For those of you who are buying your house, of course, in California, you know that's your retirement plan because you're going to sell it to some schlub from Idaho, and then you're going to swap houses or whatever. And this is becoming an issue for the two hairdos that are most likely to be our next governor, Tony Villar from the South, who I am officially endorsing because that would be one of the most amusing gubernatorial terms, I think, of all time in California. But they both agree that this is the headline from the LA Times, quote, The candidates want to build more houses in California than ever before. Experts see the goal as an empty promise. Experts? What about people who understand how government works? What are these two going to, do they have a construction company? I'm unaware of that. It is, it's very curious, but they agree, and I think everybody in Southern California agrees that there's a so-called housing crisis. Just remember 2009? Remember that there were developments in Palmdale that were just completed. No one ever moved into them, and they got bulldozed because the finance companies don't want to pay for lawn maintenance for an empty house. So it was cheaper to bulldoze them. And now here we are 10 years later, and there's a housing crisis. And in fact, that yesterday producer Nick pulled a story about Silicon Valley employees or Silicon Valley workers who anywhere else outside California would have a very comfortable income, but they're now moving into dormitory style houses. And the canary in the coal mine, and I mean, this is a stunning story. In Sunnyvale, there was a typical California neighborhood from the late 50s. You know, where do you live? Torrance, Costa Mesa. You look around your town and you see those tracks that were made in the late 50s when aerospace workers were moving here. One of those houses in Sunnyvale, California, up in the Bay Area, went on the market for just north of $800,000. And by the way, it's 840 square feet. Kind of like the house maybe you grew up in, right? Goes on the market for $848,000, closes at $2 million. And this is now the record for cost per square foot in California. Can you beat that? So that's where we are. I don't know how this is a campaign issue for Villar or Newsom. I've got absolutely no clue because neither of these guys, but besides Gavin Newsom dipping into Getty-funded private industry business when they set him up with a wine company, I don't know what really the guy's experience in the private sector is. So I don't know what either one of them can bring to the table on that. All right, well, take a break. Come back right after this. And Silicon Valley is over, says Silicon Valley. That and the world's worst commute. KFI AM 640. More stimulating talk. The Gary and Shannon Show. Monica Ricks with the news. Yeah, so the line between...
So what did you say? I didn't hear it.
What I said handle sucks donkey dick?
Yeah, that's
No.
probably not so good.
No.
No, but just they're filling
The boss came in. Yeah, the boss came in, so I muted the mic. She came in to tell me that I have good energy today. Whatever that means.
She's not in here anymore. Did you have a campfire at your house or something?
Why?
Because I can smell smoke.
No, we have bonfires all the time, but I usually wear a jacket. I don't know. You
Is this jacket in here yours? Smells like smoke. Come here.
I don't think so. I didn't wear a jacket. Oh.
You've probably heard that mortgage rates are rising, and many economic indicators are pointing to rates going up even further. If you're thinking about pulling cash out of your home to consolidate debt, invest in the stock market, purchase a rental property, or even buy the Bitcoin dip, you should call now before rates go any higher. Make the cash call at 877-890-CASH now. With mortgage rates still at an affordable level, use the equity in your home to meet your financial goals. Cash Call Mortgage has loans with no closing costs, so if rates come back down, you can refinance again without incurring extra expense. Call 877-890-CASH today to begin the quick and easy process. We close most loans in less than 21 days to get you the cash you need fast. That's 877-890-CASH.
Impact Mortgage Corp. DBA Cash Call Mortgage. Equal housing lender. Call 855-657-9910 for terms and restrictions. California Department of Business Oversight Residential Mortgage Lender Law License NMLS 128231.
That's 877-890-CASH.
Southbound weather from KFI. Sunny and warm out there today. Highs in the upper 60s to mid 70s in the beaches. Low 80s everywhere else. Tonight, mostly clear and cooler. Dropping into the mid 40s to low 50s. Tomorrow, we are back to the 60s and 70s. We leave local live from the KFI 24-hour newsroom.
Hi, I'm Dr. Wendy Walsh. You know that losing weight will change your life, but it will also change the lives of your family. It's time to be there for your kids.
Florida had the same housing crash as we had, right? There were like empty houses getting bulldozed and the whole thing.
I'm not sure. It didn't happen as much in Orlando. That's where I lived when I was an adult. I didn't pay attention to the housing crisis when I was growing up.
Yeah, I think the two epicenter. I think California was the epicenter, but I think Florida was the next ring of hell.
I'd say more foreclosures than houses getting torn down.
Well, no, that was the whole thing is, foreclosing on people or people not even moving into a new house, and they couldn't even sell the foreclosures. Blah 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 blah. Can you hear me now? Oh. Yeah, it wasn't just foreclosures. It was okay. It was people not even moving into a brand new house, but then they couldn't even sell the foreclosures. So houses were going into disrepair, and it was easier to bulldoze them. And the funniest shit was people just blowing out of houses, not even declaring bankruptcy, whatever, just moving out and leaving pools in the backyard, which became a malaria hazard in 2009. That's how bad it was.
Yeah, I actually wasn't living in Florida in 2009 at the time. I was in Alabama.
Well, would you lose a bet?
I worked in TV, so I lived in North Carolina, Alabama, moved to Florida.
I'll ignore her.
Switched to radio.
Does Reagan go to a charter school?
She will for 5th grade. She'll go to this Magnet Genius Technical Test Pilot School called Joe Walker.
But she's going to be going to a charter school?
Yeah.
They're looking for somebody to...
Sky.
KFI AM 640, more stimulating talk. It is the Gary and Shannon Show. Brian Suit filling in for Gary and Shannon. They're doing a great job filling in for our Bill Handel. They'll be back tomorrow morning. Yes, so our two most likely gubernatorial candidates, Villar and Newsom, for some reason think they're going to be building houses or some deal. So supposedly they want builders to do it for 7 straight years, resulting in a 3.5 million new homes from the time the next governor takes office through 2025, as if they're responsible for that. Those numbers are so out of scale with California's history that they might be impossible to achieve. We're in a really weird point here where this is the retraction from 2008 from the housing crisis that happened then. Now we're at the point where California is unaffordable to people who we want moving to California, people with high incomes. Because, again, as long as you all remember that 2% of our population pays nearly 50% of the tax revenue, of our state tax revenue. That's what a illogical tax model we have here. But regardless, so we want people with money moving in, right? Well, they can't afford to live in the Bay Area. There's a guy here from CNBC.com, 2 guys who carpool. This is just impossible. I kind of understand how this could work, though. 2 guys that work in Silicon Valley, but they live in Bend, Oregon. And they will put up with a 10-hour drive, either a 10-hour drive or a 70-minute commercial flight away from Mountain View, California. And one guy owns a plane, so that's fine, whatever. You make enough money in Silicon Valley that you can live in Sun River, Oregon, then you better have a plane. But the reason is because, well, the reason is twofold, because housing is amazingly, unless you're really, really wealthy, living the way you want is hard to do in California. And also moving out of the state of California, and you move to Oregon, suddenly there's no sales tax. There's just income tax. Move to Washington, there's no sales tax. There's no income tax, but there's a sales tax. And so we're looking at a guy here with a 10-hour drive. A couple of years ago, I remember some guy, and it was like AM/PM or someone did a contest for the worst commute in California. The guy who won commuted every single day from Fresno to the Bay Area. And he got up at 3 a.m. or whatever to do it. But he went from Fresno to the Bay Area. And to take you all back to 2008, remember there was a housing explosion, there was a housing burst, and then all those subprime mortgages collapsed, and suddenly there was all that empty housing. And I was talking to Monica Ricks, who was in Florida/Alabama at the time, and she missed out on one of the most wondrous side effects of our housing collapse here in Southern California. Largely forgotten now. It's been a couple of years, but does everybody remember that LA County Health and the state of California came down in 2009 and 10 because everyone bailed out of their houses and left the pool filled. And so what's it called? Nile fever? West Nile. A bunch of mosquito-borne pathogens were all around. We were spraying at night, chemtrails, bro. But everyone left their pools filled, and they became malaria breeding grounds. No one could be bothered to just drain their pool, and that was a thing for like a year. All these filled, it actually didn't evaporate. And if it did, it would evaporate halfway. And then that nasty pool water, a year later, it was like a swamp. It was just horrible, just filled with mosquitoes. And then the other side effect, and this is really, really hard to even repeat because this wasn't covered a lot. And I don't know, Monica, how sensitive are you to animal cruelty? You're gonna hate. Okay. There were people who left their houses, who just lock, stock, and barrel, left the front door unlocked, left the keys on the counter, packed up the house, put the kids in the car, and just drove away from their houses. In many cases, in Palmdale, they left pets in the house. In the house. Ta-die. I'm talking June, July, August, 120 degrees. No AC on, no nothing. They left animals in those houses. So it got to the point where LA County was asking, they had a tip line and they had people going door to door and all that, but there were hundreds of people who left animals behind. You're better off just opening the front door, and letting Rover, take his chances. But that's how bad it was. And that's the thing is, if you're going to tell war stories about the Great Recession or whatever, then you got to remember those. The mosquitoes in the pools and the whole thing and the long commutes and because now we can't afford, no one can afford to live down the valley and all that. So 10-hour drive from Bend, Oregon to Mountain View. The longest, I got to say, the longest commute that I'm aware of is there's a really weird. No, I shouldn't say weird. There is a really obscure gated community near Tehachapi in Kern County, and I'm talking up at like 5,000 feet. There's this place that I'd never heard of, didn't know anything about, nothing. And we were just taking a day road trip, running around. We thought we'd go see one of the 7 engineering wonders of the world, the Tehachapi Loop, and we're driving around. And we see Bear Valley Springs. Never heard of it. I mean, there's Bear Valley, the ski place. There's Bear Mountain, the other ski place. But then there's a place called Bear Valley Springs. It's a city, but it's a gated city. And it's this beautiful neighborhood filled with LA County firemen and LA County and law enforcement of various agencies. And these are people who will go ahead and suck up a 90-mile drive at 4 a.m. to get to LA. They will do an hour and a half, maybe 2. Well, what am I saying? They'll do 2 hours at 4 a.m. to work for LA County Fire. And maybe they'll do those 12-hour days, Kelly days, whatever they're called. They'll do 4 days in a row and then go back. But this is at a point where you say to someone, well, why don't you just move to Montana? Well, it's because they have a pension. You know, they're working a county job or a city job, and they don't want their family anywhere near grenade range of LA Unified, and they don't want to pay LA County prices, so they actually go to Kern County. LA County is bigger than Massachusetts. Kern County is bigger Massachusetts. I mean, there are people who absorb a 2-hour commute every day on the way there and the way back, and it blew me away. Absolutely blew me away. But I'm talking to people right now here on KFI who probably are doing the commute. So, but don't worry if you're looking for cheap housing. One of these 2 governors will be in the governor's mansion while the market responds, because guess what's happening? The market is answering, and there's a construction boom here in Southern California. There's a great idea. I know this absolutely is anathema to California, but in other places I've lived, they've done things like when they want new construction over a crappy old neighborhood, the city of Portland waived property tax for a decade. If you moved into a new construction house, you did not pay property tax for 10 years, and you could pass it on if you sold it. And guess what happened to the neighborhood? It exploded. It became a great family neighborhood. But again, that kind of thinking gets you kicked out of Sacramento. We'll be back right after this. Brian Suits filling in for Gary and Shannon. There is a presidential presser, but he's going to answer questions at 12:30. We'll take that. But we might get some drunken Sam Nunberg reaction from yesterday. That and more coming up. Gary and Shannon, KFI AM 640, more stimulating talk. Monica Ricks with the news.
A man and woman whose bodies were found in North Tustin have apparently been killed in a murder-suicide. A family member, neighbors say was the man's mom, called police at 25 yesterday. Neighbors say the couple was going through a divorce and the man was not taking it well. 15 homes have been evacuated in the Pittsburgh area after
All right, 1,000. Lake Isabella is a little too far there. I know a Puyallup fireman that lives in Hawaii. Okay, one of my brother officers at Alpha Troop 303rd Cavalry, 303rd Reconnaissance, was a fireman in Puyallup, but he lived in Hawaii, and he would do his Kelly days. Right, he would do 10 days in a row at the end of February, and then 10 days in a row at March. And then he would basically get a month and a half off in Hawaii. Also, I know an LA County Firehawk helicopter pilot who lives in Phoenix, and he's one of the highest paid state employees. The guy makes $320,000 a year, and he only works 10 days a month.
This Saturday. All you got to do is make a reservation on your cell phone. Dial #250 and use the keyword diabetes. That's #250 on your cell and just say diabetes. If timeshare fees have you buried, get out. Call Timeshare Exit Team at 844-949-EXIT. That's
Yeah, so my daughter sells her eggs at Ray's Farm Eggs on Facebook. The deal is though, last Saturday, last Sunday, we had a neighbor dog run half a mile away from our closest neighbor's half a mile away. And his dog got out. He came by and warned us and said, "Hey, my bird hunting dogs are out. Watch your chickens." That was Saturday. We said, "Keep us updated." He never updated us. And we had the chickens out, and we were in the house for like an hour. We came back, and his dog had killed 15 of our chickens. And the guy totally lied to us and denied it, all this. When coyotes don't kill for pleasure, right? They kill a chicken, they disappear. At the end of the day, you just have one less chicken. This was a bird dog doing what he was trained to do, and he just spree killed. He just went chicken, 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 and he killed 15 chickens, and it looked like fucking Jonestown. And they were all named. My daughter has every one of the chickens she can pick up and walk around with. They all have names. So we were getting about 15 eggs a day, and now we're only getting like 5 or 6 per day. We've got 19 chickens and 7 chicks, and part of it is our fault because our chickens are so desensitized to dogs because we have trained our dogs so well to not be a threat to the chickens. So the chickens didn't run. When this dog came through our fence, the chickens just stood there as he went chomp, 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 chomp. And he was doing what he was normal. He was, I didn't take it personal. And I told my neighbor, well, don't take it personal when I shoot your dog if I ever see him out again. So, and it pissed us off because we said to the guy, well, the dogs were inside. The dogs were inside at the time. And it pissed us off because I said to the guy, look, we're not lawsuit people and we're not call the county people. We have dogs too. But just own up to it. Just, your dog did this. What are they, in 2 years, we've lost 1 or 2 chickens to coyotes. And what are the odds that the day that you tell us that your dog is out, watch your chickens, that the next day this happens? And then you tell me it was kenneled? So yeah, we were not real happy about that deal. No, he didn't reimburse. He didn't even apologize. He denied it. He doubled down and said, "Oh no, I had my dog by Saturday night." And I said, well, I drove by your house. I didn't see a dog. This is Specialist Jeremiah Schmunk. He was 20 years old on the night of the 8th of July, 2004. We were doing a raid on this terror cell down near Salman-Pak in Iraq, an Al-Qaeda terror cell with Chechens. They disagreed and decided to fight back, shoot back, and he was shot in the head with a PKM machine gun. And it went through his helmet, the back, out his forehead, out the front of his helmet. He was the only child, and he was actually a model for Crest toothpaste when he was a kid. The guy had a great smile. He had a fucked up life, and he made it right by going in the Army. He was one of those guys where you would point to, how the Army is great therapy for young males who don't have a father figure. And he was going to wrestle in college. He was going to go to college on the GI Bill, but and his platoon, because we're National Guard, his entire squad, these guys had all grown up together. And Schmunk's mother, Shirley Schmunk, she was the bus driver on their route. So every guy knew his mom. And that was the difference between like the regular Army, where a guy's from Maine and a guy's from Oregon. In the Guard, these guys grew up together and they knew his mother. So the platoon was devastated for days. They were absolutely devastated. And yeah, it was a very tough night.
here's some stuff for trending. Kind of crosses over with
Swamp.
But Swamp hopefully will just be Trump talking. So.
I'll do some Nunberg talk here. Do I have that? Kitty Turner? No. On ABC. Say what? I can't believe he's telling this story. It's a hilarious story. Oh my God. KFI AM, 640 more stimulating talk. It is the Gary and Shannon show. Brian Suits filling in for Gary and Shannon. They're going to be back tomorrow morning, filling in handsomely and prettily for the Bill Handel show. Bill out sick. He's healing up. And we'll talk to Mark Remillard from ABC News at 12:50. The president is set to answer questions at 12:30, and probably the name Sam Nunberg is going to come up. I predict he doesn't answer any questions about the guy, but former Trump campaign aide Sam Nunberg spending much of yesterday all over cable news, promising to defy this subpoena from the Mueller probe, that he's to appear on Friday in front of a grand jury. And again, you when you're served like that, you can go ahead and sign the receipt of the subpoena, but you're going to want to go ahead and flip that opening page to the other page about what happens if you don't actually show up. They take a fairly dim view of that. Also, the mayor of Nashville, Megan Barry, this is a story hasn't really made a lot of national ripple, but now she's resigned. She was having an affair with, I guess, the head of her security detail or something, but she, in Tennessee, felony theft. So theft of property and $10,000. And I guess it's weird, but the theft is public money. And the theft of public money comes in doing personal stuff while you're on duty. And I guess she facilitated him doing that. It's not like they took a $10,000 thing or whatever. But anyway, she's resigned, the mayor of Nashville, Megan Barry, having an affair. And I am still absolutely stunned that this is not a country song yet. So who is Sam Nunberg? Who was this dude that was on TV yesterday? And I ran it by my Trump source. Those of you who are deep in the know, you know that I know a guy who worked for Trump. He was a contestant on The Apprentice. Trump fired him from The Apprentice so that he could hire him in real life. So he did. He hired this guy, let's call him AD, and he went to Harvard, very smart guy, and he actually worked for Trump for several years, got to know him very well, and occasionally popped up on the campaign. In 2016, he was in the background. Any picture in Florida, he was in the background behind Trump. And I asked him, who is this Nunberg guy? Is he a complete loon? And he came back and said, well, I never worked directly with him. That he was my friend was more of a, during the Lewandowski era, the Corey Lewandowski era. And he said Nunberg and Roger Stone were before Corey and that they're close. And so who is this guy, Sam Nunberg, who was making headlines yesterday, making headlines today, and giving us some really phenomenal audio of an apparently drunk guy on CNN with Aaron Burnett. The baby-faced, dark hair, mowed short, suit jacket buttoned, addressed the audience through a microphone. Technically, the issue was historic landmark, blah, blah. Don't start stories like that, Washington Post. Sam Nunberg, but beginning with an interview with the Washington Post, the 36-year-old former Trump campaign staffer launched a defiant and erratic media blitz, telling the Post's Josh Dawsey he would refuse a subpoena to appear before special counsel Robert Mueller's grand jury investigating Russian interference. He told the Washington Post, "Let him arrest me." What followed were nonstop media appearances yesterday that inspired hashtags, hashtag Nunberg meltdown, late-night TV jokes, questions about his state of mind, and a startling on-air inquiry from CNN's Aaron Burnett talking to you. I smelled alcohol on your breath. That was this one.
Talking to you, yeah. I have smelled alcohol on your breath.
Well, I have not had a drink.
You haven't had a drink, so that's
No.
not.
No.
So I just.
Why so defensive? So, anywho, that's who the guy is. That's yesterday. Who is he? He's been a Trump advisor on the real estate front for years and years and years. Of course, he's a graduate of Canada's university. They have that one university in Canada, McGill, apparently where everyone of prominence graduated from McGill. Bachelor's in history in 2004. He left Long Island's Touro College, Jacob Fuchsberg Law Center with his law degree in 2009, reporting for BuzzFeed. So that guy, so he's in his mid-30s. He looks like he's in his late 40s. They said baby face, but I don't know. But, so anyway, he worked on and off for Trump. For the record, Trump hired him twice and fired him 3 times, I guess. And then he was early on with the campaign. He and Roger Stone early on with Trump. Apparently, his separation from the Trump campaign was very loud and very public. And so that's what led him yesterday, probably saying, "Well, Trump's an idiot." And Roger Stone was thrown under the bus, and Trump probably did something with the Russians, and that whole bit. That was this part here.
But you sat there in that room being questioned by Mueller's investigators. I want to hear directly from you. Do you think that they have something on the president?
I think they may.
Ooh, and so anywho, that's who this guy is. He was, the announcement of the subpoena was made a couple of weeks ago, and there was a lot of speculation. It came out that's who this guy is, and it would not have been news if he had not started this time yesterday, telling the Washington Post he can arrest me. I'm not going to answer it. I got to go now. I got to call Katie Tur on MSNBC, and then I have to drink a little more and go on with Jake Tapper. And then I got to, finish up with some vodka tonics and some gin and tonics and wind up with Aaron Burnett. Also, not a good guy. Here's where he loses any and all sympathy from most people. His tenure with Trump ended in July 2015 or something. Business Insider published a piece documenting his past social media posts containing racially charged language, including referring to Obama as a, quote, socialist, Marxist, Islamo-fascist, Nazi appeaser, close quote. I'm missing where that's racially charged. Here we go. Calling Reverend Al Sharpton's daughter, quote, an N-word. Only he used the word. He was let go from the Trump campaign after that part. He did pen an apology letter to Reverend Sharpton. And so that's who the guy is. So he sounds like he has an axe to grind. So will the president answer questions about him? We'll see next hour. It is the Gary and Shannon Show. Brian Suits filling in for Gary and Shannon as they fill in for Bill Handel tomorrow morning. That and more coming up. KFI AM 640. More stimulating talk. I was way behind there. All right. Marlin 444 is my favorite lever action. And I'm a lefty, right? Levers are awesome. But you have to get what's called an offset hammer spur. And it's a cylinder that feeds onto the hammer, and then you Allen wrench it in there tight. And so as a lefty, you can either put your thumb there or you have the offset hammer spur. So the reason you want that is because you have an optic there. And in my case, I like an offset optic anyway. I like the optic on a rail in front of the rear sight, like midway, like a 1-power optic.
We're getting yelled at for breaking too late.
Oh, that's true. This is not the weekends.
Yeah.
I can't fuck around like that.
This can go in local, or I'm sorry, trending.
Who yelled? Chris Little?
Robin and then Chris. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's... yeah, just say something in my ear. At 57:02, I was like, okay, I gotta wrap it up, and then I kept reading about Sam Nunberg.
Florida Senate has narrowly passed a school safety bill that would let some teachers carry guns in schools. The bill would also create new school mental health programs, require a 3-day waiting period for most gun purchases, and raise the minimum wage for rifle buyers to 21. Democrat Kevin Rader says the credit should go to the students who lived through the horrific mass shooting last
high school. They became prophets. They became outspoken. They became the pioneers.
Bill is now up for consideration in the Florida House. A woman and her 7-year-old son have been killed in Sierra Nevada in what officials are calling a freak accident. The mother and son were buried Sunday by 3 feet of snow that slid off the roof of the condo they were renting for a ski vacation. They were the third and fourth people to die at ski resorts in California since a winter snowstorm late last week. The fight over federal money isn't over.
A federal judge in San Francisco says he will not immediately require the Trump administration award California a law enforcement grant the administration has held over concerns the state does not comply with immigration law. The judge rejected the state's request for a preliminary injunction to turn over the money, saying the $1 million amount at issue was relatively small and was at this point only delayed. But the judge also rejected a Justice Department request to dismiss California's lawsuit. Aaron Bender, KFI News.
Lawmakers in West Virginia have unanimously approved a 5% pay raise for public school teachers, and that ends a 9-day walkout. This small-town teacher says she's been keeping kids busy by running a day camp.
Go over things they're learning in school to keep that up. We have some worksheets, do arts and crafts and activities. By the end of the day, they're pretty wore out.
Pay raise will apply to all state workers. Teachers in West Virginia, by the way, are the 48th lowest paid in the nation. Owners of the Forum have filed a lawsuit now accusing Inglewood of fraud and breach of contract while negotiating a possible new LA Clippers arena. The new arena would be less than 2 miles from the Forum on city-owned land the Forum used for overflow parking. The Forum claims the mayor of Inglewood tricked owners into giving them a lease on the land. They say it would be used for a technology park, not a park.
How's my test pattern? Whoop.
Your forecast is next.
Dr. Charles Mankard, Saddleback Eye Center, announces the all-new WOW LASIK exam. It measures
No, I unmuted it again.
25 times more accurate than before.
I muted it, now I unmuted it. God damn, I gotta get Jerry Springer off.
Dr. Manger wants the WOW
Holy shit. Who put Jerry Springer on?
starts out with Dr. Manger doing 14 different tests on your eyes.
Is what's so dumb is both of our cable boxes are below here, right? And they're like this. You know, we have 2 TVs over here. And the cable boxes are stacked one on top of the other. So only one remote control. Who has new? Oh, KCAL. There we go. KCAL Noon News. We will do some local Los Angeles television news. Hey, everybody. Should I do a hashtag Sessions California or Cali Sessions and just get people's crowdsource their theory on why he's coming?
I like that.
What?
I like that.
Should I do it as a poll?
Like, what's he gonna talk about, or?
Or just a hashtag?
Do a hashtag. Yeah.
KFI AM 640, more stimulating talk, the Gary and Shannon Show. Brian Suits filling in for Gary and Shannon. They're going to be in for Bill Handel tomorrow. And Blake, what the hell is that bumper? That sounds like some obscure lost Led Zeppelin track. Are you hanging on to ancient Led Zeppelin tracks? You fascinate me. Tell me more. Well, that's a wacky name. Say it again. It doesn't sound like a chick. It's a dude. Pack your bags and get out of town. Are you unpacking your bags and staying in town? Who are these chipper young gents? I hear 3 of them are brothers. Well, that happens these days with these millennials and their torn shirts. But anyway, no, it's a group called Greta Van Fleet, because some people were asking me on Twitter what we played at 10 a.m. It's a group called Greta Van Fleet, and I'm not telling music radio how to be music radio in Los Angeles, but if you're not playing these guys, you're not doing your job. So just like if you're not, am I right? I forced him to. I drug him in. And I said, he didn't know that anyone had put video to music. I said, I think you'll find this goes all the way back to 1988. So, no, it's a group called Greta Van Fleet. Absolutely. I love this song. These are young guys, original material. It sounds to me like Zeppelin. Because I've heard every single Zeppelin song all my life. I know every word of every Zeppelin song. So finally, someone's doing new rock and or roll. And I wouldn't be doing my job in talk radio if I didn't reset what's going to happen tomorrow. Attorney General Jeff Sessions is coming to California, not just California, but Sacramento, for a, quote, major sanctuary jurisdiction announcement, close quote. And so I want to crowdsource from the KFI audience. Is he coming to arrest the mayor of Oakland? Or is he coming to sue California for the sanctuary state thing? I mean, it says major, and so it's got to be something big. I'm just really, really curious what it's going to be. So, but in the meantime, that is just a freebie before we say, hey, what's happening? You know what's trending on Twitter right now is Kellyanne Conway. Because apparently there's a thing. There was some election violation on her part, but we'll get to that. The Joshua Tree couple. These are not the people. These are not the Paris people. These are not the people with the house full of offspring living in their own feces. And then we find out with one of the young women, one of the daughters in the Paris poopy house, was putting up original songs on YouTube, which led to more questions. No, the Joshua Tree people are the living in the plywood shack 3 kids people. A judge earlier today released Daniel Panico and Monica Kirk on their own recognizance 5 days after the Joshua Tree couple was arrested when a deputy found their 3 children living in a plywood shack. Dozens of supporters were at the Joshua Tree courthouse Tuesday morning to show their support for the parents. And by the way, that's not a flash mob. So there's dozens of people who were aware that this was the deal. I'm assuming, or else why would they be supporting them? They wore red paper hearts on their clothing to show their love for the family. Before the hearing, supporters rallied outside the courthouse, carrying signs that read, reunite this family, and being homeless is not a crime. So here's what I am not understanding here. It's my understanding that they own the property and in Joshua Tree. So you're not homeless if you own property. How you live on that home, I guess, is now the issue. There was a jailhouse interview last night, and Daniel Panico said his family has been torn apart, even though he and his wife did nothing wrong. We are just minding our own business, trying to raise our 3 kids on little money. He's 73, his wife, Mona Kirk, 51. They were charged with felony child abuse last week after a San Bernardino County Sheriff's deputy discovered the kids, 11, 13, and 14, sleeping in a makeshift home about 4 feet tall with plywood walls and a tin roof in a remote part of the desert in Joshua Tree. DCFS took custody of the kids. Sheriff's officials say the children were living in a dangerous situation with little food. Friends, the people that were there at the courthouse, defended the family, saying the parents did their best to care for the children despite their poverty. They were being held in the Morongo Basin Station, where the man, Mr. Panico, was being held in lieu of $300,000 Bale sheriff's deputy say the family had been living in the shack for 4 years. The patriarch said the makeshift home was built by his son about 2 months ago. It started out like a kid's fort. It's got bigger and bigger. Well, how are they sleeping prior to that? His wife and kids did sleep in the hut sometimes. Other nights they slept outside. Sometimes they slept in a home where he served as a caretaker in Joshua Tree. He said, it's like, where do you live? We live here and there. And by the way, have any of you guys seen any of this on TV? I haven't seen any footage of let's call it a compound. Things like this always wind up being called a compound. Did anyone see the compound? So it's just a 4-foot plywood shack? And the kids were not going to school, right? So that I get, but except that the woman, Mona Kirk, used to run a daycare facility. She stopped working when they had their family. She now homeschools her children and works to give them a good education. So, and because the rules, the regulations for homeschooling are fairly loose, I have no problem with people homeschooling, not a bit. But I mean, I just to step back a bit, if you own property and there's water and there's food and you want to live in a yurt, it's one of the great things about America, even, yes, that includes California, that you can live like that as long as the kids are getting education. Do kids get dirty when they're playing outside? I guess, or living outside. So I don't know. It's just what I would put it up to the kids, so they might not have a frame of reference. If you ask them, were you abused? Of course, they're going to say no. These kids, these brainwashed kids in Paris, don't even think they were abused. Who was the skier? Was it Bodie Miller, who basically grew up on a mountain in Idaho in a cabin, I want to say? But of course, they were on a well. So it's a little, I'm not comparing these guys to Bodie Miller, but I'm just saying that there's a lot of people. I got news for Los Angeles. There's a lot of people that moved to Southern California for the desert and to not be effed with. I'm not saying it's within the law, and you know what? Let me walk this back completely. I'm not supporting what they're doing. I'm just saying that. What's the requirement of putting a house on your property? Brian's filling in for Gary and Shannon Moore. What's trending right after this? And we'll hear from the president taking questions here in about 15 minutes. KFI AM 640. More stimulating talk. Monica Ricks with the news.
Here's some more on Kellyanne Conway.
How to understand reverse mortgage.
If you're not really feeling Chris and Carl at 120, we don't have to have him on.
Well, what was he doing again? Too bad we didn't have someone on that.
Yeah, I asked Chris. I was like, why didn't we send anybody out there?
Because obviously this guy doesn't have a cell phone.
Yeah. I thought for sure they would send somebody out there when it went down.
I don't think anyone thought the guy was going to make bail.
No, Chris was doing a report from the LAPD on arrests of homeless.
Oh, that's right.
If you care, something better might come along.
Actually, no. Yeah, but I'll recycle some of this stuff, and then Neil will be here at 1:30, right?
I'll tell him we'll pass then. Because I feel like there's not a lot of... That was the only thing today that had some meat to it, but, even that wasn't good. So, all right.
I'm watching the Russian embassy's Twitter feed, and they're celebrating that born on this date in 1913 was the Soviet fighter ace Alexander Pokrishkin, who did most of his work in the Bell P-39.
Information arrives at the City at 101 at 170. That earlier crash cleared. Still
It got kind of cut off, but Michelle gave this to me. You watch Live PD?
Wait. You mean the Twitter feed?
Yeah, because Spokane, A&E, Spokane banned the show from filming there. But she wanted to point out the sign in the.
Oh no, it's not. I've probably been there. If it's in Spokane.
Come in. Yeah, I've never heard of that show.
This is this thing where they have like 8 crews around the country. And they can go live, which whoever's got a thing.
Wow.
Like they call and go, hey, we just got a robbery call. And they'll switch live to Tampa or whatever.
And they just are sort of scanner hawks. They follow the cops. And...
I guess, yeah. And it's actually not live. They just, well, I think it is.
So it's like cops, but not.
Kind of, yeah.
How does cops work? Does the agency
everyone,
has to agree?
Yeah, the agency has to agree. Then everyone has to sign a release, or they get pixelated out.
So even the guy that they film getting thrown in the back has to.
And they always do too.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. Okay. If you have a guess on why Jeff Sessions is coming to Sacramento tomorrow, then give me a heads up at hashtag Cali Sessions. Ron Jeremy, I did not see your question.
The Dodgers' 2017 season was filled with excitement, and LA is determined more than ever as the boys in blue prepare for the 2018.
I do not know Phil Hendry.
Be sure you don't miss any of the action. Visit Dodgers.com/miniclans.
3 big prizes in 1 ticket? That's right. It's time to triple the feeling with Triple Jackpot Scratchers from the California Lottery. Please play responsibly. Must be 18 years or older to purchase, play, or claim.
Get ready to start flipping houses overnight for a nice profit. The Nevada Real Estate Academy is now giving away their Fortunes and Flipping Kit for free. This kit has helped thousands of rookie investors just like you learn how to flip houses for large profits, and it can help you too. Call now to get your free kit and learn the secrets of flipping houses with other people's money, or partnering with the Nevada Real Estate Academy Network to get your deals funded. Plus, you'll get their new groundbreaking tax lien investing kit that'll show you how to earn government-secured returns up to 18% annually and how to buy highly discounted tax-delinquent properties. So if you're ready to make some extra cash, call 800-614-2173 now to get your free kit. Call 800-614-2173 now, and you'll also get free tickets to a live training.
I'm guessing you're not really Ron Jeremy.
Plus a national government auction list of properties for sale. All
So we're at 2 hours, 15 minutes and counting, and my battery's still going strong. Those of you who stream during Dark Secret Place know what usually happens. What channel is Fox on our system? It's like 731 or something like that. Gary and Shannon, KFI AM 640, more stimulating talk. It is Brian Suits filling in for Gary and Shannon. They're filling in for Bill Handel and doing yeoman's work, doing an excellent job. So they'll be back tomorrow morning. Filling in for Bill is Bill Heels. We're in the middle of what's trending. And did you guys know it was National Oreo Day? I don't care about national days, but it's National Oreo Day. So there, box checked. There you go. So, who is the most prominent NFL referee that comes to mind? When you know, by the way, when you know a referee by name, I don't think they're doing their job. But there's one guy who's become famous over the past 30 years because he always shows off his biceps. Yes. Correct, sir. You know why he's trending today? He's announced that the gun show's over. That he's retiring. He's an attorney in Phoenix, and I believe his son is an NFL referee now. But that was always a thing. And you feel free to find some of his best calls if you want. But that was a thing with the guy, is that he was on a field with professional athletes, and he felt the need to just gun up. And he would always wear these really tighter than normal referee shirts. And that was always a joke about Ed Hockley. It was, which way is the gun show? Is it over there or is it over there? So anyway, he's retiring. Also, I wonder if there's a regulation about them juicing up. I wonder if they take a whiz quiz, or is that only for the players? I wonder, does the NFL regulate whether refs can be on steroids? The Hockey League did it the hard way. I'm assuming. I would hope so. But anyway, he's retiring. The NFL referee legend Ed Hockley is retiring. This is also the 20th anniversary of The Big Lebowski. So that's happening as well. The number one thing on Twitter is Kellyanne Conway, because some are saying she violated the Hatch Act. Now you're all Googling the Hatch Act, but we'll see. The guy that we were talking about, Sam Nunberg, who did his immolation on cable TV this time yesterday, he's done a 180 on that whole follow a subpoena thing. Former Trump campaign aide Sam Nunberg is backing down from his brazen declarations 24 hours ago. He says, quote, "I'm going to cooperate with whatever they want," close quote. He told CNN in a phone interview. He's not on camera today because he probably has a banging hangover, I'm assuming. He struck a dramatically different tone on Tuesday night as we were playing, for instance, this part here with Katie
But you
Tur.
sat there in that room being questioned by Mueller's investigators. I want to hear directly from you. Do you think that they have something on the president?
I think they may.
And then 6 hours later, 2 feet away from Aaron Burnett on CNN.
Talking to you,
Yeah.
I have smelled alcohol on your breath.
Well, I have not had a drink.
You haven't had a drink, so that's
No.
not.
No.
So I just, because it is the talk out there, again, I know it's awkward, let me just give you the questions. You can categorically answer that. No, you haven't had a drink today?
My answer is no. I have not.
Anything else?
You know, talking to you, I smell Prozac on your breath.
No.
No.
No. Besides my meds.
I thought I caught that blueberry scent of Prozac. So anyway, he will, as it turns out, not violate a federal subpoena. He's going to go ahead and show up on Friday for that deal. Also trending before discussing tariffs with the leader of Sweden, President Trump declined to say whether he would establish preconditions for talks with North Korea, but added that the standoff over nuclear weapons cannot, quote, fester, close quote. This was this morning. Trump told reporters before meeting with Swedish Prime Minister Stefan Löfven. We'll see what happens. They seem to be acting positively, but we're going to see, Trump said of North Korea's leaders, and this is what he's talking about, is during the Winter Olympics, we authorized South Korea to speak clandestinely to North Korea, actually in Pyongyang, away from cameras. And in those meetings, it's fairly clear that Kim Jong-un himself appeared and declared that further public negotiations were going to be authorized. Again, we weren't at that desk. It was just the North Koreans looking across the desk, speaking Korean to the South Koreans. But we were in the room, if you know what I'm saying. So they did authorize that. So yesterday, a delegation from South Korea, the so-called Big Five, the head of intelligence and national security, etc., they went to Pyongyang. They met with Kim Jong-un, and then oh, Durka, guess who strolled in? His sister, who made the rounds at the Winter Olympics. So his sister is now part of the inner circle, and in these discussions in Pyongyang yesterday, the North Koreans made the declaration that they would consider discussing the actual subject of denuclearizing, but what they would need in return, and this is, by the way, if you listen to my show, Dark Secret Place, in the weekends, or you heard me with Bill Handel last week or the week before, with Wayne Resnick last week, the week before Bill Handel, this is the way. Well, when we come back, I'll tell you how this resolves itself on the Korean Peninsula. On the very edge of sending carriers and bombers and the whole thing, we got a result out of North Korea. Not exactly the result we're demanding, but still a result. I'll tell you what that is. Right after this, it is Gary and Shannon. They're filling in for Bill Handel this morning and tomorrow. Brian sits in here till 2 p.m. KFI AM 640. More stimulating talk. Monica Ricks with the news. Okay, I have to go check in with Petros. Thaddeus Culpepper.
Involving robot cars where humans attacking them. The California DMV says only 6 incidents have been reported since the turn of the year, but one involved a guy in San Francisco who ran across the street to shout and throw his body against the self-driving Chevy car, damaging a taillight. The car was in autonomous mode, but a driver was behind the wheel because it's the law for now. The other incident, also in San Francisco, was a taxi driver who left their car to scratch the windshield of an autonomous vehicle despite someone driving it. None of these 6 reports involved injuries, and damage ranged from minor to none. Michael Crozier, KFI News.
Traffic now from your SoCal Hot Traffic Center. There's a skull in Cerritos on the 91.
Activity on the westbound side before you to Artesia with the left lane blocked, one further coming away from Knott Avenue. Meanwhile, on Wilbur Street, getting through South Almonte, actually mixed, rather westbound 60 transitions to the 605 north and south, and those connected with the block until about 2:30. Same delays to Fullerton Road, while the westbound 10 a little bit sluggish from Grand over to Benson. Also very heavy riding heading into Long Beach, 710 southbound side, some major delays from the 91 all the way up to Ocean. And things are pretty slow heading into Riverside area, 91 freeway eastbound side. Fort Madison had a crash here, it looks like it's blocking purple lane traffic there, heading to Highland. KFI in the sky helps get you there faster. I'm Jay Lee.
I have been telling you about Excel Laser Vision and Dr. Musa here on KFI for years. Matter of fact, over 14. Thousands of KFI listeners have gone to Dr. Musa. I mean, literally thousands, and have found my recommendation, which is kind of nice. His credentials are superb. Harvard Medical School, tens of thousands
down and no interest for 3 years for the most advanced all-laser custom LASIK procedure. The offer is good until April 30th, and there's no excuse not to have LASIK. To schedule your free custom LASIK exam, call 866-92-EXCEL. That's 866-92-EXCEL. Visit ExcelI, that's as in eyeballs, ExcelI.com, 866-92-EXCEL.
Stuff I wanted to say, fine, sunny and warm out there today. High to the upper 60s and 70s in the beaches, but low 80s everywhere else. Tonight, mostly clear, dropping back into the mid-40s to low 50s. Cloudy tomorrow, back in the 60s and 70s. We lead local, live in the KFI 24-hour newsroom. I'm Monica Riggs.
You probably heard that mortgage rates are rising, and many economic indicators are pointing to rates going up even further. If you're thinking about pulling cash out of your home to consolidate debt, invest in the stock market, purchase a rental property, or even buy the Bitcoin dip, you should call now before rates go any higher. Make the cash call at 877-89-CASH now. With mortgage rates still at an affordable level, use the equity in your home to meet your financial goals. Cash Call Mortgage has loans with no closing costs, so rates are down finance again without incurring extra expense. Call 877-89-CASH today to begin the easy process. We close most loans in less than 21 days to cover the cash you need fast. That's 877-89-CASH. Impact Mortgage Corp. Cash Call Mortgage. Equal housing lender. Call 855-657-9110 for terms and conditions. California Department of State Oversight Residential That's 877-89-CASH.
Hi, folks. It's Peters and the Peterson D. Look, it's March 20th. The nice fiscal year ends April. Some offers are fantastic. Let me put it this way. Never before and never again will you be able to buy a solar powered energy system cheaper than you would when you even more drastically than ever before. And I'll have it installed before summer.
Hello, I got to mute. It's not what you think it is. Still on Swamp Watch, KFI AM 640, the Gary and Shannon show. Brian Suits filling in. Still, yeah, we had a coffee spill. Oh well. So, you know, it's past noon. I shouldn't be spilling. I shouldn't be drinking coffee anyway. So the end game in North Korea. The field has been set. The stage has been set now. Since the South Koreans and North Koreans spoke during the Olympics secretly and now have done it publicly, the story out of North Korea is, well, if we can have guarantees of no aggression, then we will consider denuclearizing it. And keep in mind that for North Korea, especially for those guys in uniform standing on the left and right of Kim Jong-un, they have spent 2 decades starving so that they could have nuclear weapons for a reason, to have the ultimate leverage over absolutely everybody. And they probably calculated that the United States fears even a limited nuclear war, either on the Korean Peninsula or anywhere else in Asia, or God forbid they stick one on an ICBM that can hit Brentwood. And now we're at that reality where not only is our missile defense, after 25 years of work and $40 billion, it doesn't work. And by the way, work means 100%. When you're talking about nuclear missiles, work means nothing gets through. Okay, would you accept any less? Well, right now, the ground-based mid-course missile defense system based at Vandenberg and then also in Alaska, it one-on-one, it has basically a 50% hit rate. So the North Koreans have us over a barrel. If you don't know that, it's because the Pentagon doesn't talk about it, because they're not proud of that. But that's the way it is. So the North Koreans have said, well, if we can have assurances of security, and what that basically means is that the United States has to be part of a peace treaty that the North Koreans need to sign. And part of that peace treaty is a public agreement, a non-aggression agreement, except in self-defense, et cetera, et cetera. The North Koreans, for their part, would recognize South Korea, would promise to denuclearize, but they would also demand a complete withdrawal of American forces out of South Korea, at which point the South Koreans have to do some soul searching. And that's not a pun. They would have to have a heart-to-heart about, do we actually trust these North Koreans to not get froggy on this peninsula like they did in June of 1950? There's 51 million of us. We're what is the fourth largest economy in the world. The South Korean economy is a juggernaut, especially considering where it came from to where it is in 2018. It's extraordinary. And do we trust the North Koreans not to start marching south? And do we trust them to actually denuclearize? So this, by the way, this is only a result of the fact that the United States has been making moves for the past year as if we are about to execute a war plan, the OP plan, as it's called, for North Korea. None of this would be happening if the North Koreans didn't think we were serious. Now they think we're serious. So who knows? Maybe there's movement, maybe... And so what would happen is that North Korea would just enter into the fraternity of countries with nuclear weapons. That would be it. So the president has a news conference with the Swedish prime minister. They're going to do their prepared remarks now. I can practically do those from memory. Tell you what we'll do. Can we take an early break and then come back for the questions? Because the questions are what's interesting, not the prepared remarks from Sven Tollefson or whatever his name is. Or the president. We know this is going to be about the history of Swedish-American relations and how awesome they are and what a tremendous friend they are, though maybe we need some negotiations on how easy it is to make your furniture. Perhaps we could firm up that friendship if you use something different than an Allen wrench. I don't know if they're going to get that granular. Back right after this early break, we'll come back with the Q&A with President Trump, with the Swedish Prime Minister right after this. Swamp Watch, Gary and Shannon Show. Brian sits here, KFI. AM 640, more stimulating talk. Monica Ricks with the news.
And then we got Nunberg controversy. What's his face at 12?
We have what?
Mark Remillard is supposed to call in at 12:50.
Oh, okay, yeah. Oh, that's right, yeah.
So. Did you see the story? I forget where it was. But
of the man named Brady?
The man named Brady. No, someone called the cops on their neighbor because they said they were flying a Confederate flag. When the cops showed up, no, they called a news station to say, "Hey, my neighbor's flying a Confederate flag. Like, you should do a story on this guy." Turns out it was like a Finnish flag or something, or it was the flag of Finland or some Scandinavian country.
Oh, really? like Denmark is a red crucifix.
Maybe that's what it was.
Norway's a blue and red. Finland is a blue on a white field. That's funny.
It's not Confederate. Yeah.
People are tarded.
People be tarded.
There. Hey, everybody, it's Cowbell Lunch. Woohoo! All your flashback requests.
We remain determined to achieve a denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula. And there's been a lot of news on that today. Hopefully it's positive. Hopefully it will lead to a very positive result. In economic matters, we are striving for a relationship grounded in fairness and reciprocity. The United States is one of the largest investors in Sweden, and the Swedish investments in the United States support over 200,000 American jobs. Earlier this afternoon, I heard from several Swedish business executives, some of the greatest in the world. Where are you, folks? Please some of the great executives in the world, people I've known for a long time and certainly know of. And they're investing tremendous amounts of money in the United States and supporting also vocational training for American workers. We are grateful for those investments, and we are committed to working with Sweden to pursue even greater economic cooperation. We're also continuing to pursue bilateral agreements to advance mutual prosperity. I'm pleased that Sweden intends to procure the Patriot air and missile defense system, finest in the world, in a deal worth over $3 billion. This system will increase stability and security in the Baltic Sea region. A strong and balanced economic relationship strengthens security.
Good Lord. And I say this honestly. Can Trump not read?
A lot of things that we're working on, and we're working.
What is his problem with reading prepared text? This is painful.
Mr. Prime Minister, I want to thank you again for joining us, and I want to thank your great staff who we met with and your great business leaders. It was a very interesting.
How long do we have? Like 3 more minutes, right?
Between our people, anchored in our shared beliefs and values, has greatly enriched both of our countries. And this is just the beginning. Our relationship has never been better. An honor to have you here. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. President, for a warm and generous welcome. It is a true pleasure to be here at the White House. This year, Sweden and the United States celebrate 200 years of diplomatic relations, and this meeting reaffirms the strength of our relations. The history has shown that our two nations share fundamental values and interests such as democracy and human rights. We also share a strong partnership that continues to evolve. Today we have discussed how to further strengthen our country's prosperity and security. As for prosperity, Sweden is one of the largest per capita investors in the United States, and my country is big, but we support directly and indirectly almost 1 million jobs in the United States. And some key executives of the companies that provides these jobs are also here with me at this visit. At the same time, the United States is our most important foreign employer, and many U.S. companies play a vital role in providing investment and creating jobs in Sweden. President Trump and I have discussed how our nations can support jobs and growth. It's a crucial issue for Sweden. That means embracing new sustainable technologies which permit our economy to grow at the same time reducing emissions, and also how we can secure good jobs in a labor market constantly changing due to automation and digitalization. Sweden and the United States are two of the most innovative economies in the world, and we see great opportunities ahead. Swedish prosperity is built on cooperation, competitiveness, and free trade. And I'm convinced that increased tariffs will hurt us all in the long run. And as a Swede, I of course support the efforts of the European Union to achieve trade with fewer obstacles and as few as possible. Turning to security, the President and I have discussed some key regional and global security challenges, such as the situation on the Korean Peninsula, but also the developments in Sweden's neighborhood. We have also addressed the constructive cooperation between Sweden and the United States in the United Nations Security Council. I would like to underline that the transatlantic link is strong, and it remains crucial to responding to global security challenges.
You know, the Norwegians adopted the 1911 as their service pistol after World War II. Norwegian OSS operatives became so in love with that gun in 45, but in order to make it work in Norway, if you can find one of these, you are really, really lucky. But the Norwegians made a 1911 copy in Norway. But get this, it was 11.759913 millimeters. I mean, all they did was they measured the 45, to the Nat's ass into millimeters, and they just adopted the 45. But they called it the 11 point whatever 75 millimeter handgun. But if you can find one of those Norwegian 45, they are super rare. They are very, very rare. It's easier to find one of those Argentinian 1911s that are supposedly made out of the Graf Spee, the belt steel of the Graf Spee. When it was salvaged, they made pistols out of it. Gary and Shannon Show. Brian Suits filling in for Gary and Shannon, KFI AM 640. More stimulating talk. Now we'll go to John Roberts of Fox with the first question to President Trump after the remarks. Huh? Leave IKEA alone. But not the living room sets or the chest of drawers, right? Don't put a tariff on IKEA. No.
Remillard standing by.
Oh, yeah.
Want to go to him.
No. Okay, we'll bring that down a little bit, and I'll try to figure out what he means by that. I don't know what. So, like, NATO is not a trade imbalance. It's not like we send the Swedes the Patriot 3 missile system, and they send back 30,000 Tisa-Doll 6-drawer dressers at $329 retail per piece, which are already overpriced. I don't mind putting a I understand. I would still buy a Hemnes or even a Kopang with a tariff, because the Kopang at 169 is still a bargain. But sorry, not the Tisadal at 329. So no tariffs on IKEA, please. Mark Remillard for ABC News joins us. So 24 hours ago, I was hearing the name Sam Nunberg for the first time, and I couldn't help it because he was absolutely everywhere saying some really wacky things. Yeah, I'm sorry. I have since Tuesday that he, or was that late last night when he started to sober up, or what? And so, because I've never been subpoenaed by a federal special prosecutor, does it say you are compelled to appear on this date at this location at this time for the purpose of, et cetera, et cetera? Then at the very bottom, does it say or not? And you can check the box and it says or not? I'm unaware. So appearance is not the response. You have to respond and say, yea, verily, forsooth, shall I, appeareth, on Friday. Yeah. What date then? I guess it is said that he has to be there Fridays. So Friday at like 6 a.m. Pacific time, he's going to be walking up the steps doing this. We're going to know immediately if he really is going to honor the subpoena. Yes, that would be a hoot to be thrown into the federal hoosegow. That would be an absolute barrel of monkeys. All right, Mark Remillard, thanks for being on top of this. All right, there he goes. All right, let's get back to President Trump and the Prime Minister of Sweden taking live questions. This is a Swedish correspondent, I guess. Wearing very, very tight bike shorts and a halter top. Ah, here we go, North Korea. He's talking about Otto Warmbier, the American student who stole a poster and was beaten into a coma. All right. So anyway, there they go. Privately, behind closed doors, evidently they were debating the relative merits of the Tarva 5-drawer chest versus the Songasan 6-drawer chest, and the difference. What really do you get for $159 that you're not getting for $129 with the Tarva? I'm glad President Trump drawing a very, very strong line on that. And again, for the record, I'm not sure if the president knows this, but Sweden, not a member of NATO. But regardless, Sweden is buying the American Patriot 3 anti-air defense system. So good for them. We'll be back in just a second. It is Brian Suits filling in for Gary and Shannon on the Gary and Shannon Show. They are filling in for Bill Handel and doing an excellent job. They'll be back tomorrow morning in for Bill Handel. I'll be back right after this with a man in Taiwan who put a sex toy in his penis. And how did that work out? Well, we have the details right after this. KFI AM 640, more stimulating talk. Monica Ricks with the news. Oh, whoops. I never do that. I never fuck that up. I almost never fuck that up, but I fucked that up. It's still, no one notices though.
It was seamless. It's okay. Wrong. I do have news.
But am I right about the Tarva? The Tarva in regular pine, 5 drawers, 129. The Songasan, again, $150 and $30 for one more drawer. You know, sorry. No es bueno. They're all muted.
That you would like to see some change in the people around you. Does that include your Attorney General Jeff Sessions or either of your cabinet secretaries?
No, I don't really talk about that. I just said that the White House has tremendous energy. It has tremendous spirit. It is a great place to be working. Many people want every single job. You know, I read where, oh, gee, maybe people don't want to work for Trump. And believe me, everybody wants to work in the White House. They all want a piece of that Oval Office. They want a piece of the West Wing. And not only in terms of it looks great on their resume, it's just a great place to work. It's got tremendous energy. It's tough. I like conflict. I like having two people with different points of view, and I certainly have that. And then I make a decision. But I like watching it. I like seeing it, and I think that's the best way to go.
I spilled. I had a huge coffee spill, and John and Ken freak out about any
Yeah, there'll be people.
about any smells.
But there'll be people that change. They always change. Sometimes they want to go out and do something else, but they all want to be in the White House. So many people want to come in. I have a choice of anybody. I could take any position in the White House, and I'll have a choice of the 10 top people having to do with that position. Everybody wants to be there. And they love this White House because we have energy like rarely before. Okay? Thank you very much.
Sir. Mr. Prime Minister, last year you criticized the president for drawing a link between immigrant crime and the recent arrivals of refugees. This week, one of our own flagship papers, the New York Times, actually profiled the link between hand grenade violence and immigrant gangs in your country. Do you stand by your criticism of the president?
First, Sweden, we have our share of domestic challenges, no doubt about that. So, and we inherited a legislation that was not sustainable, legislation on migration, which meant that in 2015 we received 163,000 refugees seeking refuge. Bear in mind, we're a country of 10 million inhabitants, so that was a lot. 70% of them came from September to December, which meant it was a dramatic increase. We changed the legislation, so now we've decreased the number of refugees entering Sweden, and we're also putting pressure on the other European Union countries to take their share of the responsibility. This is not a responsibility for 1, 2, 3, or 4 countries. It is a shared responsibility. We're working with that now within the European Union. And we of course, we also have problems with crime, organized crime in Sweden, shootings. But it's not like you have these no-go zones. We have dealt with it. I'm dealing with it every day, allocating more resources to the police, more policemen trained, more resources to the security police. Tougher law on crime, tougher law on terrorism, supporting terrorism. So we do a lot to combat that, and we can also see some results now in our 3 major cities. Decrease shootings because we're attacking the organized crime very tough, and we'll keep on doing that because there is no space in Sweden for organized crime because they decrease freedom for ordinary people. At the same time, Sweden has a high growth.
All right, well, we'll be there. You want to see me, JB? Yes, I want to see you, bird friend. You've been opening that fat yap of yours about opportunity. Well, here it is. Yeah? Opportunity? Thanks, boss. I'm having a lot of trouble with that picture down in Nashville. Now, can I trust you to go down there, put the show on the road, and sign up the talent? Certainly, boss. Trust me, trust me. Now, here's the kind of names we have to have. We have to have guys like Marty Robbins, Johnny Cash, Hank Snow.
Brian Burrows.
Excellent. Marty Robbins' song El Paso was, of course, recorded in Nashville. So he kneels in at 1:30.
1:30, yeah.
And we're going to talk about the prepackaged shit?
Yeah, meal kits. Walmart's got them.
Do they have them, or they mail them, or what?
They're gonna. Here, I got an article. That's for the bottom.
They get. Oh yeah. And then can you put my computer? KFI AM 640, more stimulating talk. It is a Gary and Shannon show. Gary and Shannon are filling in for Bill Handel. They'll be back tomorrow morning. Brian Toot filling in for Gary and Shannon, and I'm assuming I'll be back tomorrow. I'm not sure. We interrupt the story that we were going to do about this man in Taiwan who put a sex toy in his pee hole and had to be surgically removed. Believe it or not, there is a more important story. And it's not that Californians have slapped and shouted at robot cars in 2 of 6 DMV crash reports. You're yelling at robot cars. But anyway, no, it's not. It's a story that largely has been kind of in the background of the national news, has, I guess, come to a conclusion. Ryan Burrow for ABC News stands by. Ryan, how you doing? How is lovely Nashville? How are the ribs? No, this is bigger. This is way the mayor of Nashville, Megan Barry. Here's about 10 seconds of what she said this morning.
Hello, everybody.
Hi.
Well, my time today as your mayor concludes. My unwavering love and sincere affection for this wonderful city and its great people.
And there you go. All right, well, so that was her resignation. You know what I didn't know, Ryan Burrows from ABC News, is that country music legend Marty Robbins recorded El Paso in Nashville. Did you know that? An iconic song, but recorded in Nashville. As it turns out, it's the epicenter of country music. So that's why the national interest. All right, so let's say I know nothing about this story. Where are the Titans? Are they outside of Memphis or Nashville? Oh, okay. So let's start. Yeah. So as if I know nothing about the story, start me at the beginning on this. And he's like a state trooper. A man with a gun. Kind of like what happened to El Paso? Oh, never mind. All right. How can you turn that song down? Oh. What, was he not talking loud enough? Was it too high up? But when I wrap him up, they'll bring it back. So I'll wrap. I have the song queued to the last 20 seconds. And so this is, so in other words, it's theft of public funds. Like extending things longer. And that's and she avoids any jail time with even with a felony. And all she had to do was get in front of a crowd and say, my computer's not up, I guess is what she said. Anyway, she just had to go in front of a crowd and say, well, it sounds like they like her. So there you go. Well, obviously his law enforcement career is over, but I'm guessing he's within his pension, or does he surrender his pension? And he had naked pictures of her on his phone on a. I heard she never passed a package. Thank you. All right. Well, there we go. She goes into obscurity. The former Democratic rising star Megan Barry, and they were both married, right? So there's 2 marriages on the rocks now. All right. Well, hope that was worth it. The Ryan Burrows, thank you very much for checking this out for us, and I guess we'll see it on the news, and then that story goes away. So I love sex scandals. This one's too far away from California. Excellent. Oh, that's right, with a former Navy SEAL. Yeah. All right, we'll check in on that one. Thank you very much, Ryan Burrows. There he goes. The president's press conference is wrapped up as well. And was there anything significant? We'll wrap it up for you. Again, Marty Robbins, El Paso, recorded in Nashville. That's your tie-in. It is the Gary and Shannon Show. Brian Suits filling in for Gary and Shannon. We'll be back right after this. Neil Savita of the Fork Reporter is coming up. We're going to talk about those prepackaged meals that get mailed to you, and then you're supposed to not mess that up. Yeah. Like, what the hell? Why can't you just go to the store? KFI AM 640, more stimulating talk. Monica Ricks with the news.
From the City of Angels to Lion City,
We had a big, important meeting.
Non-stop service from LAX to Singapore on the Boeing.
Yeah, by the way, you know, of the long list of people spilling shit here at KFI, I am like at the bottom of the list of violators. I mean, the absolute bottom of the list. There has been so much shit spilled here. And I mean Diet Coke. Okay, there's a certain show, I ain't naming names, that drinks only Diet Coke. And there's so much goddamn Diet Coke in this keyboard and and our big KFI board. Well, I was wearing a hat. Hey, Gavin tweeted, oh, wow, stop the earth rotating. Gavin has tweeted. Gary and Shannon, KFI AM 640 more stimulating talk. It is Brian Suits filling in on the Gary and Shannon show. Gary and Shannon doing an excellent job, a yeoman's job filling in for Bill Handel till Bill heals. Gary and Shannon in there on the Handel show. And this morning, they kept me awake without playing any of that annoying music with actual content. So where are we going? There's two places to go here. Californians have slapped and shouted at robot cars, according to DMV crash reports, and also the guy who put a sex toy in his pee hole. But wait, stop everything. Gavin Newsom tweeted, President Trump was just in a press conference with the Prime Minister of Sweden, and the backstory, recall that Trump was talking about these immigrant neighborhoods, these Muslim immigrant neighborhoods in Göteborg and Malmö and Stockholm, where the Swedes themselves, the actual citizens of the country called Sweden, have declared that some of these slums have become no-go zones. That roving bands of young Syrian men, young Muslim men, are keeping Swedes out, actual Swedes, out of the area, and cars are burning and being flipped over, the whole thing. But Gavin Newsom, who last I checked on his travel record, hasn't been there like ever. This is what he said 12 minutes ago on the tweeter, quote, making up things that happen in Sweden, with Sweden, about Sweden, that have, all caps, never happened, is Trump's favorite pastime. Remember when he fabricated the terror incident that, quote, happened last night in Sweden, close quote, that, all caps, never happened. Except as it turns out, it did. He was missing the punchline that Trump might have accidentally said that, but it turned out he was actually correct. And if you don't want to trust the American media on that, go check out the Australian 60 Minutes episode from less than a year ago when they took a camera. They tried going into a certain neighborhood in Stockholm, and they were stopped by young men in that neighborhood from even going in, from bringing cameras in there. So, yeah, Sweden has a problem. It is self-inflicted. Germany's trying to act like they don't have that problem. So, anyway, well, folks, stop hitting the robot cars. This is actually very, very simple. The human response to possible takeover by robot overlords. And this is from LA Times, the business section. Humans slapped and shouted at robot cars in 2 of 6 DMV crash reports this year. Of 6 crash reports involving robot cars filed in California so far this year, 2 involved. And by the way, it is now March 6th. We're 2 months and 6 days, and there's already 6 robot car accidents. Of 6 crash reports involving robot cars filed in California so far this year, 2 involved a human approaching the car and striking it. January 2nd, a Chevy Bolt EV operated by General Motors Cruise driverless car division in San Francisco's Mission District was minding its own business, waiting at a green light for pedestrians to cross when a man, quote, ran across Valencia Street against the do not walk symbol, shouting, and struck the left side of the Cruise AV's rear bumper and hatch with his entire body, close quote. So he tried to body tackle a Chevy Bolt. He damaged a tail light, according to a report filed with the California DMV. No one was injured. Police were not called. The car was in autonomous mode, but a driver was behind the wheel as required by current law. So in other words, the guy body tackling the Chevy Bolt EV had no clue that it was actually a robot car. And I don't know if that counts. Meanwhile, just days later, January 28th, a GM Cruise Bolt EV again with a human driving the car stopped behind a taxi on Duboce Avenue. I thought I knew San Francisco, but I've never seen that. Duboce? When the driver of the taxi exited his vehicle, approached the Cruise AV, and slapped the front passenger window, causing a scratch. The incident report said, none of this seems in any way causal that these are robot vehicles. I want to hear about driverless robot vehicles and humans beating them and things like that. So anyway, here in California, we continue to break new ground. Well, I guess there's no avoiding this. Is it time for the story? This thing? Okay. And next, right before this, by the way, we're going to get this out of the way before Neil Saavedra, the Fork reporter, comes in and we talk about food. Doctors discovered a 7-inch plastic sex toy stuck in the bladder of a man who came to hospital when he started urinating blood. This is from where else? The Mirror in Great Britain. The unnamed patient, reportedly in his 30s, refused to see a doctor for more than 2 days after getting the toy lodged. But apparently, all dignity runs out after 48 hours in Taiwan. When he finally did visit a doctor, he told them he had gotten into trouble while engaging in, quote, urethral play, close quote. The head of urology at Kaohsiung Veterans General Hospital in Taiwan, his name, John Bang Bing, said the plastic rod measured 7.87 inches long and 1 centimeter inches wide. The patient claimed he was pleasuring himself when he accidentally inserted the device into his bladder. Sorry, wrong. Oh, wow. It looks like it dips. It does. It does. Or it looks like Hermione. Not Hermione. It looks like who's Helena Bonham Carter? Helena Bellatrix. It looks like Bellatrix. But no, it's a piece of plastic. It looks like a conductor's wand, but about every inch there's a succeedingly a larger bump. I guess it does look like the elder wand, doesn't it? Yeah, so stick this in your sorting hat. I know my daughter is absolutely horrified right now. She hears me match. I think they're out of school. No, not yet, luckily. So when she hears me mash up Harry Potter with a guy sticking a pleasuring wand into his nether regions. Yeah, that's the director's cut, I believe, of Deathly Hallows. He continues, the patient claimed he was pleasuring himself when he accidentally inserted the device into his bladder. Sorry, that's not an accident. Unless you're sprinting down a hallway and you run into a wall, okay? I know, that's a thin excuse. But in an ER, I would accept that. I would buy that. Listen, doctor, the electricity went out. He was bent over tying his shoes, naked, and I ran in the door and I didn't see him there. A routine cytoscopy, an endoscopic procedure in the man's bladder, helped remove the toy, which had already caused inflammation and blood in his urine. The patient was discharged from hospital and is expected to make a full recovery, and I'm assuming they gave him the wand back. So, oh, you found that. That's exactly where I put it. So anyway, true story. All right, I'm running late. When we come back, Fork Reporter is going to bear the truth on those things where they mail you gourmet meals and then supposedly you prepare them correctly. That and more coming up. Gary and Shannon Show. Brian Suits filling in KFI AM 640. More stimulating talk. Monica Ricks with the news. Yeah, I was way. Yeah, hey, tell me, like at 20, I went way past because we were talking boners.
Pee hole.
Pee hole.
I almost went the whole day without hearing pee holes. Almost. Oh my gosh.
Put that in your pee hole.
What, is that like Harry Potter or?
That's what we're saying. It, man. That.
Is it made to put in your pee hole?
I don't. There's nothing pleasurable about sticking stuff in there, and I know because as a lab tech in the Army, every Tuesday morning, which is VD Day in the Army, I had to do nonspecific urethritis. I had to do the thing with males where you stick a copper rod with a cotton, cue like that, all the way in and do a quarter turn, then remove it and put it back in the tube. Now they do a urine test. The Army spent 10 years making guys still have to go do that.
Wow.
Yeah, that.
Pleasuring himself when he accidentally inserted the device into his bladder.
Yeah, that's not an accident.
Plastic sex toy is shown during, but I don't understand how that's a sex toy in the penile eye.
I mean, I absolutely am here to freely admit I understand that that the prostate can be a fun place, playground as well, but not the pee hole.
Yeah, the pee hole is not. I mean, I have a distinct.
And you are on YouTube Live, by the way.
What's that?
You are on YouTube Live.
Currently?
Yeah, I can reverse the camera.
As we're talking about pee holes?
Yeah, do you want me to reverse the camera?
I don't care. I will tell you this, though. If you've ever threaded the needle, if you know what I'm saying, as a man, on accident, something works its way, it's not a happy thing.
I never have.
You never got like a hair or anything in the eye of the needle?
No.
It'll drop you to your knees.
Yeah, that I know. Like I say, I used to do those tests, and there's no way. There's no pre-numbing. There's nothing.
Wow.
And then I was a stat lab tech in the ER at the University of Washington Medical Center, and yes, college students will put absolutely stupid things up their ass, just as stupid as a regular ER.
Well, let me tell you, I'm not here to judge anybody. But I'm saying physiologically, it seems like the pee hole would be very, very low on the list. Like, very low down.
Yeah. I've never even heard of that being a playground.
So, who's on the old YouTuber? Just goes up? People actually watching this drivel?
Here's what's crazy. Saturday nights at 11:30 at night, I'll have over 200 people.
Wow.
Watching. Right now, I haven't really pimped it.
There's 6 people.
There's 48.
Does it we can actually say them by name at this point.
We peaked at 80 something. I mean, I've been on now 3 hours 27 minutes.
Does it save it?
Yeah, it actually does process it and then upload it.
Because this is gold.
Yeah, pee hole talk.
Yeah.
Of course.
You should do a pee hole podcast.
With Jed the Fish. Jed the Fish, they come in here and talk about pee holes.
That's like your third reference to old KROQ people.
Well, I was...
The young Dick Blade you mentioned earlier.
I was really... well, yeah, but I accompanied that with an impression.
Yes, I know.
Did you hear him in with Petros and Money? That was great.
What, about his book?
Yeah, about 2 weeks ago. Then I had him on Sunday night. And he was great.
I like him. I mean, that was my era.
And he is a, LA radio legend.
Oh, absolutely.
And he really actually is a really good guy. I mean, when no one's watching, he's still a really good guy.
That's what I've heard.
And
he still in Hawaii or Florida?
No, the Bahamas, the British Bahamas. He had a scuba school there right after K-Rock, saved up all of his money, opened up a scuba school with lots of K-Rock goodies. And then he came back. Now he's back in Granada Hills. I think like his third wife or whatever. But he gave me the best advice I've never followed. And after K-Rock fired me, after Kevin Weatherly, who should add Greta Van. The bumper we were playing today. Wait, Blake, what is that? Greta Van what? Greta Van Fleet.
Susteren? Oh.
But right after he fired me, I was saying goodbye to young Dick Blade, and he said, "Please tell me you're going to stay in Los Angeles." And I said, "Well, I don't know. There's an offer to do a morning show in Reno." And he goes, "Listen, Leo. Listen to me, Big Leo. Don't leave LA. If you leave LA, you will spend the rest of your career trying to get back here." And he's right. He was right.
Oh, yeah.
Because
we have everything to not move.
Yeah. And I mean, I left a bunch of projects, like with Jimmy and Adam, and I bailed on that and said, "That's on you fools. Cable's going nowhere, man. FM morning shows are the way to go. I'm off to Reno." And
how'd that work out for you?
Well, you don't hear much about Jimmy Kimmel these days.
No.
I mean, who's he? And so yeah,
Talk to Jimmy Kimmel anymore?
There's a gap between us these days.
Yes.
Political
differences?
Yeah. And the last time we tried having a group lunch with the old crew, I showed up late. When I showed up, he left. So, but you know what? He listens to KFI. Oh, you know what? We're losing battery.
All that pee hole talk.
Yeah, I think I got to bail. All right, back tomorrow. Yeah.